Welcome to Meadowbrook Memories Podcast. I am Jelly, otherwise known as Glester Prince, and my co-host is Hitchcock, otherwise known as Alfred Henry. Our mission on this podcast series is to explore the stories behind the magic that was created at Meadowbrook. When over a span of 4 years, between 1982 and 1986, we saw the transformation of a small coeducational school with less than 1,200 students, 800 boys, 800 girls and 400 boys into a successful sports and scholastic champion, winning 7 major trophies, 3 Sunlight Cup, 2 Topping Cup, 1 Walker Cup, and 1 Nutriment Shield. And to crown these achievements, Meadowbrook also produced 2 Rhodes Scholars, Cavell Creighton in 1987 and Andrea Wright in 1989, both graduates of Meadowbrook in 1983. In this podcast series, we'll be speaking to persons, both males and female, who were actively involved in this incredible journey, along with friends and staff at Meadowbrook, which inspired the environment which created this golden era. We hope you enjoy our discussion. Please give us as much support and encouragement as you can on whatever social media platform you are listening. Welcome and thanks for joining us. Alright, ready. So remember to like, share and subscribe these Meadowbrook Memories podcasts so neither you nor your friends will miss another Meadowbrook conversation. Thanks. Today is Sunday, February 5th, 2023. I welcome back to another conversation about Meadowbrook Memories. Me as usual, Glester, our Lance, our Prince, our Jelly, and any one of those names will do. Join me back today as co-host is a former teacher and student at Meadowbrook, and a very good friend of mine, Gerald Belnavis, who is no stranger to this conversation because he has been a guest on episode 6, and you can go back and listen to that conversation to hear G's Meadowbrook Memories. But G has also co-hosted a number of these conversations, so Meadowbrook Memories, welcome back, G, to this conversation.
Thanks, Jelly. Good to be here.
Our guests tonight, and yes, we have 2 guests, are 2 of 3 brothers who attended Meadowbrook in the 1970s. And unfortunately, the older brother is no longer with us, but we'll definitely use this conversation to talk about and honor the older brother's Meadowbrook memory. When I started Meadowbrook in 1974, I looked up to these gentlemen. With their movie star looks and always surrounded by the best looking girls on Meadowbrook campus, I always said to myself, when I get big, I want to be like those brothers because them appear to be the girl and sugar before the song was a thing in the years later. Anyway, all of the 2 brothers tonight started Meadowbrook in 1971, following the footsteps of his older brother who started Meadowbrook in 1969. He was farm captain in first farm, participated in the photo club, and made an 8mm film of various activities at the school over a span of 3 years. And I'll have to ask him about that if he still have a copy of that 8mm film. His class put on one of the most famous concerts at Meadowbrook. I heard about this concert at the time in the 1970s. It included Big Youth and Augustus Pablos, amongst others. In fourth farm, a group of students, including our guests, cycled from Meadowbrook to Port Antonio, and this is a feat I never knew. I never knew that possible. We just spent the night with Mr. Chin, a Meadowbrook legend who was now principal at Titchfield at the time. I think this ride on bicycle from Meadowbrook to Portland deserves some award. The resilience, and show the resilience and tenacity of Meadowbrook students in the 1970s. And we'll be digging into that remarkable achievement in our conversation tonight. He was also president of the Sixth Form Association and organized a book drive that donated to the General Penitentiary, or GP, and he was deputy old boy to head boy Brian Brown. The younger brother of the 2 tonight started Meadowbrook in 1972 from Dunrobin Prep, along with other Meadowbrook well-known people like Devon Panton, Petal Pennycook, and Courtney Mark. And in true Meadowbrook fashion, Meadowbrook tradition, he married a Meadowbrook girl who also went to Dunrobin Prep, Melody Delphas. He described Meadowbrook as the best time of his life. We had the fun all the time. He was 100-meter champion in first farm, was house captain for Sanders from 5th farm, where he, along with Spanner, they recruited the best athlete to ensure Sanders' dominance. That's what Spanner and Sanders' plan. He was deputy head boy to James Eichel and played badminton and table tennis. But without further ado, the brothers are here to give their own story, Meadowbrook Memories tonight. and also talk about the older brother who's no longer here, as I say, so I have a big up for him memory. So welcome, Stephen and Marc Delapenha. Stephen, introduce yourself first, my brother. Introduce yourself first.
All right, Jerry, thank you. G, good to hear from you too. Mark. All right, I started Meadowbrook, as you said, in 1971. 2 years after Garth started, he started in 69. I was in 1A, and among people like Minerva Thame and Christopher Smelly and Milton Wills and whole group of them. And Meadowbrook was a significant part of our lives. I remember teachers like, she was Mrs. Leo Riney at the time, and she was still producing children. She was very influential on many of us. And at the time, she had organized a situation where, we are young people, puberty, and she took the girls to one side and spoke to them, took the boys to one side and spoke to us separately, and then put the two groups together and told us the story of the birds and the bees, and we thought that was quite revolutionary at the time. And in later conversations with her, it turned out to in fact be quite revolutionary, and there was backlash from some of the parents over it, and she had to stop it. Yeah. But she had the full support of Mr. Thorpe at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Meadowbrook was a great experience for me.
Yeah, man. We're getting at it. And Mark, introduce yourself.
Yes, sir. Mr. Prince, welcome. And Mr. G, good to see you again. Yeah, I started a year after Stephen, 1A as well, with Mrs. Johnson and Mrs. Millwood. Those were our teachers. And of course, the daughter Eleanor Millwood and Judith Forth and Carlton Christian and your older brother, Patrick Prince. Mm-hmm. A number of people like that. We started out in 1972. It was I look back on my high school years as a great time, my most enjoyable time of my life, I believe. And with all the things that have been going on in the world, all the changes that we have been seeing, the teenage years, the most influential years of our lives, we had the best times with the teachers, from Mr. Thorpe all the way down to Mr. Senior, mm-hmm. groundskeeper. Those were our best times.
Yeah.
Those were our best times.
Yeah, man. Indeed. I agree with you, Mark. Those were some special times at Meadowbrook, and it's like, well, we get tonight. We get into it tonight as we go through the conversation and that. And Jay, reintroduce back yourself.
Yes, Gerald Bill Nevis. I'm here helping. Well, very happy to be here because the Delapenhas are, good friends of mine from school days, and I've kept in touch with Mark. I see Mark. We live not too far from each other. Stephen, well, thanks to social media and Facebook, we can have an idea of what people are up to and how life is going, generally for most people. So I see Stephen's still riding to distant parts, and I'm like, I could barely last 10 minutes on the stationary bicycle, let alone climbing Mount Ross on the yeah. But very good to be here, and haven't spoken to Stephen in a long time, so that's good. And you mentioned God. God was, I probably knew God better than Stephen and Mark, because God and I actually were in sixth form together. When he was in lower six, I was in upper six, and that whole bunch, God and his cohorts were, we're all very, very good friends. We would, so that is, still really I've not been able to wrap my head around God's passing. I tell you, and I think I'm not the only one who says that. It was really tragic and untimely, and but I think that one thing I will say, I know we'll talk about God some more, but God certainly made a deep impression on many, 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 many people. The amount of people who reached out to me privately and were just like completely distraught when God passed, which is a good thing because it shows that that in his life. Funny how a medium like Facebook or something can lead to that kind of, I won't say notoriety, but God was something else. But that kind of brilliance, really. That we never knew that side because there was never really an outlet. So thank goodness for that. And but overall, that notwithstanding, good to have you guys in a conversation today. And I went to Meadowbrook 75 quickly, and I left Meadowbrook. I wish I went to Meadowbrook in 75. Started it and graduated, well, sixth form at 75.
Yeah. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you. And gentlemen, it's a pleasure for New Year. Come spend the evening with us tonight. I really appreciate it and taking the time out to come here tonight. And most of the questions I'm going to start, I didn't really have question. When I start, I'm going to start with you first, Steve, because you're the older and the two here tonight. And the first question I ask everybody who come on this conversation, Steve, is, did you choose Meadowbrook or Meadowbrook chose you?
I think it was preordained. We lived in 1968 to 69. We lived on Meadowland Drive, which was up the road from the Peterkins, and it's a stone's throw from Meadowbrook. And Garth started going to Meadowbrook. And all our lives, up until we left school, when one does something, it's the other two do it.
Follow.
So our parents sent guys to Meadowbrook saying, we were going to get sent to Meadowbrook too. This was just a matter of fact. But so I do not remember having major thought about which high school I would want to go to. And I remember it just being a natural progression to go to Meadowbrook. So I don't know if that means that Meadowbrook chose me or I chose Meadowbrook, but it was no other thought crossed my mind.
It was like when you pick the common entrance, you'd put Meadowbrook and Meadowbrook then. The school them.
I don't even remember what we put. but we were going to go to Meadowbrook.
Yeah.
I don't know how Mark remembers it.
Yeah, Mark, answer that question. Did you choose Meadowbrook or Meadowbrook chose you? How you interpret that?
Well, I do remember what my choices were. And at the time my turn came around, we lived on Parkland Drive, which our backyard was Calabar.
Oh, man. No, Mark. Parkland Drive in 1967.
I remember. Well, that's right. No, we were in Lanier Close. So
Lanier Close.
Calabar was down the road. Yes.
Calabar was down the road. The Cork brothers went to Calabar. And
Cork brothers went there. Our neighbors from Parkland Drive, Mark Brown, he went to Calabar.
Mark and Woody.
I had put down Calabar as my first choice, Meadowbrook as my second choice. So I would have to say Meadowbrook chose me because that's where I ended up. And
your mother
I
was
never
not
regretted that Meadowbrook chose me.
Your mother was not about to send you anywhere, so don't worry about that.
Mark, consider yourself fortunate that it turned out the way it did. And I'm
I
sure
definitely do.
you think about Calabar and you think about Meadowbrook, you would be happy that you ended up
By
at
the time I got to Meadowbrook, Garth had been there 3 years. Stephen was going to be in his second year. And Garth was in third form. Stephen.
No, Garth was in fourth form.
Fourth form.
Yeah,
Stephen was in second form. I'm in first form. Mr. Thorpe had gotten worn out by those two bearded boys that by the time I got there with my full beard, because my beard was a full beard when I was 13 years old, he didn't even bother trying to get me to shave. It was a waste of his efforts, so he just let me go. He tried with Garth, he tried with Stephen, didn't work, so he never even tried with me.
Our mother prevailed on him, Our mother prevailed on him. She said she was not going to put razor into our young virgin faces. And she prevailed on him to leave us alone. And by the time you got there, and the thing is, you were much more hirsute than either of the two of us, Mark, me and Garth. And so you actually came into first form with a full beard.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll never forget the prize giving.
The embarrassment my mother went through.
I've been graded to the school, right? They introduced the first form class is coming in, right? And you see the girls walking and you see the boys walking. And I don't necessarily know if you remember Timothy Tinker.
Gerald he went in right in front of me.
And he was wearing short pants, right?
Short pants, little white boy, half my size. That everybody sitting around my mother thought that I was the form prefect, not one of the students.
Fair enough. Well, look at the benefit. I mean, look how much you benefit from the hard work and the efforts that your two brothers put in, especially Garth, being the first. The same thing I tell my younger brother when he came to Meadowbrook. I already made all the sacrifices for him. After me, I don't know about Patrick and Jelly, but I would definitely.
No, when you come to school and you have a older brother, you kind of have a certain amount of clout and all of things.
Yes.
That definite.
Because remember, back in those days, as a young boy in first form, you can't step with the older guys at all.
No. But if you have an older brother, it's easier to do that, right?
I was sitting with the fourth formers, having lunch with them, with Garth, my older brother.
Yeah.
But you know what it did? You know what it did, Gerald and Prince? What it did was to broaden your scope, your range of friends. Yes. Because people like Steve Thompson and John Richards, Peter Hotong were Garth's friends.
Yes,
Whiteman. But because also Chris Whiteman also became our friends.
Our friends.
Because the three of us were a single unit. Me, Mark, and Garth. We always were brought up as a single unit. Our mother was a single mother by the time Mark was 3, I think.
Yes.
And she taught at Dunrobin High School. And as soon as you could walk, she was taking you to school with her. So Garth was at Dunrobin, then I was at Dunrobin from as early as school. Mark could walk, so that means he could go to school.
Mm-hmm.
And so she started us off at school really, really early.
Mm-hmm. But
little known fact, my mother teaching at Dunrobin High School, she taught a lady by the name of Rita Anderson.
Yeah.
Who later on became Rita Marley.
Yeah, she taught recently.
What I can say about your father in that you guys the conduct and the and the discipline and the academics of you guys was very impressive. I mean, like I don't think I can't remember any case where you guys were in any kind of trouble, and certainly God, who I had shared classes with and so on in sixth form. I mean, these guys were top class. It's the names that you call there, Steve and Peter Hotong and really good bunch.
So
that year.
Yeah, go ahead, Jerry. Finish up.
No, the Delapenhas were, an asset to Meadowbrook, put it that way.
Thank you, sir.
It's all down to all credit to our mother.
Definitely.
Right? Nothing to do with anything.
As Mr. Chin would say, well brought up young men. As opposed to, his other description, which is not so good.
No, it's a testament to the mother, because being a single mother in the 70s and in the 60s, as I said, that was nothing at all.
60s,
in
yes.
the 60s, that was not something where people look upon and say, boy, it was a stigma then, being a single mom back in them days there. For whatever reason.
She remarried in 1967.
Okay.
And from then, she got married to a gentleman called Barry Johnson, and we grew in Barry's house. Well, I still work with him. And we've always, from we were little single-digit children to grown big men, we called him Barry because my mother thought that the phonetics of the word Barry was close to that of Daddy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So somehow she convinced him that it was quite okay, and that's what we refer to him as from then, 1967, when we were 5, 6, and 7.
7.
I
would have been 7.
Yeah, you were right. Till now.
And when I mentioned God name, and I'm glad you come up in the conversation. And you can start, Jerry. Talk about God a bit, because I'm not here to talk about himself. What type of person he was, and where you met him. You started him in the first farm Meadowbrook, or he came after you?
God would have been 1 year behind.
1 year behind you.
And for the record, hold on, Jerry, for the record, was God a bearded first farmer too?
No, I can't remember, honestly.
He was a bearded third farmer. Gas was a bearded third farmer.
Third farmer. Okay.
Marc was a bearded first farmer.
Okay, Marc is the number one.
I had a goatee at 10 and a full beard at 13.
All right, Jerry, talk about God, and then Steve and then Marc talk about God. What type of person was, and what the interest was like at Meadowbrook, and what he did at Meadowbrook, what you remember the most?
I know God 1 year behind means that classes are fairly close. You kind of know each other. So even though we weren't in the same class, I was always aware of that class behind and knew the people in there fairly well. So even before we even got to sixth form, we were all friends at some level. We got a lot closer in sixth form because the way sixth form was structured at the time, there were certain classes that you would share.
Yes.
So we were actually in classes together. So God always had a smile on his face. I cannot remember God having any problems with anyone, any dispute, argument. God would be a man who would quite likely be diffusing any kind of tension. With God and his smile, always smiling. I remember he had that deep interest in cars, that's for sure. And he was extremely knowledgeable about cars. Look at a car and tell you what year it was and what model and what submodel and what sub-submodel and God did sciences, I believe, right? I think he did.
All of us did science.
Oh, right. So he was, he was.
We're a carbon copy of each other. You know? Or Mark and I are carbon copies of God.
Yes, yes.
You're a good role model, though. I mean, no doubt. You know, a very pleasant, not very very articulate, pleasant. Like I said, always smiling, and Mr. Sarcasm sometimes, and very witty, which we all discovered more in his writings. Genuinely nice person. I remember the last time I saw him, we were actually in a line at a polling station in Miramar about a general election. We were there. It's a long line, and we really had a chance to catch up. And he was there with his two young sons, and it was a really good time because we caught up on a number of things, and that was the last time I spoke to him. I didn't remember what election cycle that would have been, but what can I tell you? I mean, like, God was God. Uniquely God, only God. I mean, the use of language was, second to none. And as I said earlier, a certain level of brilliance. And I think a person who cared about people and, certainly cared about less fortunate and so on. And into his garden, into his cars, into his children and his family and his brothers. So if, they say that when people pass, people said only good things, but I'm struggling to find something that I could tell you that God did that was, or God a fight, or God was in, a big argument, or God got a detention, or was, like myself, kicked out of the class. No, none of that. So, genuinely 10 person. Genuinely 10 person.
Are you, Steve? You remember if God chose Meadowbrook or Meadowbrook chose him or it was chosen for him? And what type of person he was when you come to Meadowbrook, or you look up to your bigger brother coming to Meadowbrook, or you felt having a older brother?
Well, I think Meadowbrook chose us because I said in '69 we lived close to Meadowbrook, and so I think that was determined by our mother. I think Meadowbrook chose him. I don't remember God having any particular preferences. But he went to Meadowbrook, and for me going there on his 2 years behind him, because you see, for the first 10 years of my life, I couldn't see. But nobody seems to have recognized that fact. So I repeated 1 year in prep school. You remember that, Mark?
You and I were together.
Yes.
Sitting side by side and
sitting side by side
at the front of the classroom. So at the front of the classroom, there's only a walkway and then the blackboard. And I had to tell Stephen what was on the blackboard because he couldn't see it. And I'm like, how you mean you can't see? It's right in front of us. And I think I told Mommy about that. And so she had his eyes checked out. And that's when he started wearing glasses.
Oh.
Wow, Stephen, I didn't know that at all. I did not know that at all. So, when you started Meadowbrook, you just started to see. Steve, you there? I wonder if him drop off.
Look like we lost him.
For some reason, it looked like him drop off for 2 years, yeah.
I hope we get him back.
For
me...
Yeah, go ahead, Mark. I see if Steve will come back in,
Yeah. The youngest of three, I'm following them. Wherever they went, I was with them. It's the easiest thing to do. I learned to drive late because I didn't have to. They were driving everywhere. Of course, Stephen, the dominant one, he took the car over. So He was always the one driving us. And the things that he went through driving gave him the nickname Crasher Penner.
Yeah.
And he not only crashed cars, he crashed his motorcycles. At one point, I remember him getting in an accident. We finding out about it, go to the hospital. He's okay by our standards. Go back to where the motorcycle was, and the people around there had secured the motorcycle and were asking me, then how is he? And I'm like, oh, he's all right. He just broke his collarbone, nothing big. And they're in shock. How can you be so calm? I mean, like, this is just another day for us. But that was Stephen. Garth. I now I don't go by.
Hello.
Yeah, man. You hear you now, Steve. Mark talking about God. When him finish, you can come back in.
All right, I got dropped.
Yeah, man.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Continue, Mark. You were talking about God.
I don't go by Bahama Breeze because that's the last time I saw him. I had invited him to a dinner. We met up with Carlton Christian, Gilla, Audley McGregor, and Andrew Phillips and his sister Susan. Andrew and Susan had come down from Canada. And this was the third year Andrew Carlton and myself were meeting up at Bahama Breeze. And we were trying to expand it. And we called up Gilla, and Gilla met with us. And I called up Garth, and Garth with myself. And there are pictures of us sitting at the table. And that was the last time I was with Garth. So I really have not been back to Bahama Breeze. Also, where Garth was living, right next door to that is the walk-in medical clinic where they took him, and that's where he died. And I don't like driving by there.
Yeah. Totally understandable.
Yeah.
I've seen that picture on Facebook. That picture, that dinner you're referring to. I remember seeing that picture there. Everybody looked very happy and thing.
Yeah.
The lesson, you don't know.
Yeah.
When your time is coming, because
that certainly has crossed my mind a number of times. I remember that when God passed, I remember reading something that God had posted the day before, the night before.
Yeah.
And I in Stephen the morning, looking on Facebook and seeing this, and like I'm reading it like 5 times. And I'm like, am I reading what I think I am reading? It was like, it was the weirdest thing. Surreal is not the word. It was amazing. You kept there looking at it, I said, but how could this be? The man was just, yesterday. So you're right, Mark. We never know. We never know.
Yeah, tomorrow is promised to no one at all. You just don't know. Steve, you there?
But what he left behind was the writings. They're still there. You go to Garth blogs on Facebook and you can read them. They were very insightful, very deep. I do miss that.
You and a whole bunch of people, I can tell you
that. he wrote the best birthday greeting. There were epistles.
Yes.
He was a part of the magazine club at school, Steve?
No. Garth didn't join too many. Garth was a bit of in school. Garth was a bit of an enigma, and the girls did not understand him. Many people didn't understand him. I didn't understand him, but I accepted him because, my entire life I've been following behind him. So he was just there and I accepted. But he I don't know if he took pleasure in confounding people, but they didn't understand it. They didn't, because he did not fit in a mold.
Definitely not.
Give me
Unique.
an
I think
example
I
of that,
use that
Steve.
word. I use that word uniquely God. I think
Give me an example of that.
to describe it.
It's how can I? I don't remember any specific topic or conversation, but they may have asked him something, and then he would give them the answer, give them an answer which they did not expect, which they found difficult to comprehend, or and so they just didn't understand him.
That's
And
something.
I saw it a lot when I had the pleasure of sharing classes with Mark when we were leaving. We spoke about that earlier. But also shared classes with Garth, right? Because he repeated forms twice. Again, teachers didn't understand him, and so they didn't know how to reach him. So he actually repeated forms twice. So I eventually caught up with him. And as I said, when we shared the same classroom, you could see that especially the girls, they did not understand him. He confounded them.
Did God spend a lot of time with Robin Grant?
I think Mark.
No,
Mark,
I did.
Robin King, yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
did. He was the one that let me know how hirsute I was.
Oh, what?
Person.
Okay,
You remember he was very verbose.
Oh God, Robin.
And so he introduced us to the word hirsute.
Yes.
Yeah.
He taught me in sixth form, one class I remember. And he went to Meadowbrook long before us. And there was a long standing joke about Robin Grant. And Robin went to the fudge man and said, "What manner of frozen confectionery do you possess?" Of course, poor fudge man, you know.
No, but
didn't know where to begin. Maybe the frozen.
You see why I asked the comparison, Steve, because you're talking about God, and it's Robin Grant. I think about it's just the same sort of. It's like.
Yes.
I tell you, the complexity of Garth. One day you would go to Garth's house here, and he was in his garden, taking care of his plants. Another day you go to his house, and he's inside redecorating a room. Another day you go to his house, and he's outside rebuilding one of the BMWs. That's Garth.
The thing about
he did all
him,
of that.
Yeah, the thing about Garth also was that he had a deep appreciation for things aesthetic.
Yes.
And I stressed the word deep. Mark, you remember when we went to California and we're walking through all the various parts of San Francisco and LA and we see pieces of art on the side of the road or something. He had to stop and appreciate them.
Yes.
And his reaction to them was visceral. It reached deep within his soul. He couldn't just walk past these things. He had to stop and consume them and appreciate them. And you spoke, Gerald, about his thing for cars and so on. It's also part of that Ferraris and Porsches were not just cars with a whole lot of horsepower and everything, but they were things of beauty.
Of beauty, their design, their aesthetics. He saw that as much as he saw how much they performed.
Yeah.
He was more liberal than I was.
Yes. Well,
my love for architecture when I was younger came from my being a liberal and wanted a balance. And architecture I found to be a great balance between art and
science.
physics. And those two come together to make homes.
Mm-hmm.
Garth went on further. He did it at FIU. And
you followed him
of being an architect. I followed him.
You followed him up to UTech.
CAST at the time. I did 1 year of CAST, but because my technical drawing wasn't up to par, I didn't pass. And I regret them not having technical drawing. That they started it after I started at Meadowbrook. So I didn't get it as one of my subjects, and I regret that.
Mm-hmm. It didn't become a part of the curriculum till after you started.
Right.
Mm-hmm. 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 Let me ask you a question, Steve. What was the first day of Meadowbrook like? Did you ever visit the campus before? And the first time of Meadowbrook as a student, what was the first day like?
I think we must have gone there because Garth had been there for 2 years by the time I was going. So it was not unfamiliar territory. I remember the first person I met in my class at Meadowbrook was Christopher Smelly. He sat down, he was sitting behind me, and I guess we introduced ourselves and whatever. So he became my very first friend at Meadowbrook, and he remains a friend to this day. It was a good experience. It wasn't, sometimes when you're leaving primary school or prep school to go to high school, it can be difficult or traumatic. I don't remember it being that way. I remember it being exciting and new, and it was a good experience.
Mm-hmm. And for you, Mark, what was the first day you remember at Meadowbrook? And did you ever visit the campus before you come there?
Definitely, I would have been there either for something for Garth or something for Stephen. So it wasn't. It was familiar ground for me. I remember lunchtime hanging out with Garth and Steve Thompson and Peter Hotong. I had lunch with them. John Richards. Those are the people I was having lunch with because those are the people I knew. I didn't get to know my own classmates. I knew these guys before. So it was an easy transition for me. And then I got to know people around me. Your brother, Prince, Patrick, Carlton Christian, Andy Phillips, and Peter Chung. Those guys were sitting around me. And those are the guys I got to know first. And there were some cute girls up front, one named Judy Forth and another one named Janet Harris. Yeah. And there's another one that I got very close to, Michelle Sanguinetti.
Yeah.
Michelle.
Yes.
Michelle lived on the hill, not far away from where we lived. And
yes.
She had 3 brothers who went to Monroe with a friend of ours, and they had a motorcycle, but 2 motorcycles. Because Chris had the Yamaha 200, no, the 200, and Michael had the Yamaha 200, and Chris had the SL70. We used to go over there that motorcycle up and down.
Let me quickly interject. While you were away briefly, Mark was telling us your exploits on motorcycles. So just to let you know, you have a little insight.
I let everybody know that your nickname was Crashapenna. A well-earned nickname.
So you were... Yeah, go ahead.
I did motorcycles, bicycles, motorcycles, cars, music. Right, Mark?
Yes.
All right. Those were our passions. We would walk. I remember Patrick Scott, me, Mark. We walk around school pretending to be riding a motorcycle.
Leaning into corners and stuff, yes.
Yes, making the sounds of a Honda 354 or something like that. And that's how I walked around school, because those were the things that excited us. The Scott boys were heavily into American cars, and they always had the magazines, and they would drive their mother's Buick up and down from even before any of them had license. But yeah, those were our passions.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you something, Steve. When you fell in love with motorcycle, what did your mother say?
Not a great deal. I went to the bank and I borrowed the money from the bank, and I bought Andre Smith's motorcycle.
Okay.
And she was very proud that I went and negotiated my own loan.
Wow.
I'm the only Delapenha that never owned one.
Okay.
Mark,
Even had quite a few. Garth had at least one, which he crashed into a truck. A chicken truck was coming up Red Hills, trying to pass a bus, a GOS, and Garth was just going down the hill, turned the little corner, and there was the choice of the truck or the bus. So the truck was the one in front of him, so he went straight into the truck. Which
it was a blue truck.
What that caused was everything from above Lee's Flats was blocked. So nobody could go anywhere, to work, to school, nothing, because the roads were blocked because this chicken truck was trying to pass the bus. Garth crashed into it, and both were stopped right there, and nobody could go anywhere. Mm-hmm. Garth broke his leg.
Yeah.
He was in traction at UA, and I remember going there and seeing these pins in his legs and wires and weights at the end of this wire, trying to pull the bones back, so because they were like snapped and then were like side by side, and had to pull it back and then put it back in position. And he died with the pin still in his bone.
More. Yeah.
He was supposed to take it out, but he never did.
He never did. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But he was wearing a white helmet, and the truck was blue. And when you looked at the helmet, you saw a circle, a blue circle on the forehead of the helmet of about maybe 3 inches, where the head just hit on the front of the truck and bounced off.
Mm-hmm.
Lucky to have survived that.
Yeah.
He survived that. And I survived numerous things as well.
Numerous.
You take it very lightly, Steve. I'm certain that you don't encourage your children to take those risks.
You can't take it too seriously. My mother, and then my wife learned. Karen, what Karen wants to know is that where the insurance policies are and that they're paid up.
I hear you. I hear you, Steve. I hear you. So, by the way, who are some of, and you first, Steve, who are some of the teachers you remember when you just started Meadowbrook in 1971, you said, yeah?
Well, let's start with number one. At the time, she was known as Mrs. Elsa Leorini.
Mm-hmm.
She taught us biology, and she is the greatest teacher ever in the history of the world. I never studied a day for biology, never studied, and I got an A, right? Because she opened up your head and she put the material in there. She was the best teacher I have ever come across.
Yeah, it was outstanding. She taught as well. She was.
Yeah.
No
And,
doubt, come Professor Learani. I mean, it was ordained.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
and she became principal of the university.
Yep.
And she mentored the great Professor Dr. Minerva Same, my great friend, right,
Yeah.
who is now Dean of Medicine up at the university.
Mm-hmm.
Elsa was her mentor. It's teachers there like Mrs. Johnson, Mr. Gooden. I remember good things about Mr. Gooden, but I hear many other girls talk about how terrible he was to them. But I remember good things about Mr. Gooden. He taught me physics and math, and Mrs. Millwood taught me math.
Yes.
I had a difficulty with math all along up until I encountered Mrs. Millwood. And when I encountered Mrs. Millwood and understood math for the first time, and moved on to the next year, fourth form, with Mr. Gooden, I just flew there. And of course, physics, Mr. Gooden taught physics, and physics had something to do with internal combustion engines and cars. So I was fascinated by physics. I loved it. Mr. Gooden. Of course, there's Mr. Chin. He didn't actually teach me, but you came into contact with him. Mrs. McTaggart. I don't know if you remember her, Gerald.
Yeah, she taught me as well. She was my form teacher, first form, I think.
My form prefect in first form was Carol Chung.
Yeah,
she had a cousin. Yeah, she had a cousin in our class, Robert, and she got married to Willie Stewart.
Yeah, Carol was. Yeah, she was in when we were in. Yeah, she was with Jackie Samuels and that group. Jackie, who else? One of the Jarretts.
One of the Subadans.
One of the Subadans.
Yeah, all of them.
It was. They were when I was in first. I think they were in third.
Yeah. And Carol Chung lived down the road from where we lived on Kirkland Crescent. Andre lived across the road.
Was Andre Smith?
Andre Smith, yes. And Mrs. Smith.
Yeah, he was my yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Andre and I are married to sisters.
Oh, okay.
And those sisters, their cousin is Christine Beecher,
and Johnny,
who was in my year at school.
Yeah.
Okay, Mark. Steve, so your year was Christine, Cheryl Hunt, Claire Davidson.
Claire Davidson. Claire didn't start with first form.
Okay, and, I remember that.
Phillips.
And Carlton.
Peter Gate.
Yeah,
Peter Gate fourth.
A really good class.
Sandra Christian.
Really good class that was. Yeah.
That's Carlton's sister.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Popcorn.
They lived on Lee's Flat.
Yes.
I
also remember Carol Anderson was her name.
Carol Anderson and Keith Williams.
Yes.
Carol Anderson. And Carol had an older sister in Garth there. I don't remember.
Yeah. Williams. Keith, Tony Williams was in my class. Keith,
he died, eh?
He died, yes. Keith. Yeah, we're close. Talk about the Scots. Paul and I actually went to St. Richard together. We were really, really best friends at St. Richard, and then Cowan, and for whatever reason, Paul did not pass. I passed. So when he came to Meadowbrook, I was second for him. I know the Scots very well, and Michael passed away.
Paul, Patrick, Paul and Garth were in the same year initially, and then Michael was in Andre Smith's year, and then Patrick was in my year. Yeah. But Patrick, I don't know if you guys remember, and you might know this. Gerald certainly will know this, and Jelly might have heard about it. Patrick was a very good footballer. Patrick and Scott. Milton Wills.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I remember that. Yes.
Patrick and Milton Wills were about the best footballers, and Keith Williams. Patrick, Keith, and Milton Wills are the best footballers in our year. Yeah. Right? But Patrick broke his leg, I think it was in a Manning Cup game, and it caused him to miss a good portion of school. So he repeated and ended up in Mark's year.
He was with me.
That's
but I saw that team of Patrick with Carlton Christian. That's how that team got together, because Patrick was repeating first form because he broke his leg.
Yeah,
and missed most of the first form.
Yeah, he was a very good footballer. I remember that, Steve. He was also more than a competent cricketer too. He was a very good cricketer.
Yes, he was a good cricketer too.
Patrick, Michael, Patrick, all three of them actually, because Paul used to play a mean game of cricket too.
Well, a good guy.
But Patrick,
that's with him. But I remember going to their house up there. Used to live on Morningside.
Morningside Drive,
right? Mm-hmm. And they had some nice mango trees there too.
Yes. I can remember sitting down on the fence eating mango outside the house.
Yeah.
And White Man lived around the corner.
White Man lived around the corner. And up the road from White Man was Chris Gainham.
Yes.
One thing I remember about Patrick Scott as a first farm, it was in about third farm when I came. I'm a repeat as I say. It's one of the first man I say. Just pass wind like on a nut not all. Just walk on and fall. No.
Patrick was the type that he would say, pull my finger.
No, him never. You know, you come back to school, like, it's shameful to them thing. I said, Patrick Scott just walk around.
Oh. It never feels him at all.
No, but male or female, no matter to him at all. I say, yeah, man.
Never care.
I saw him last year, you know. He came to Jamaica. Last year. He brought Patrick's children. He brought Michael's children. He had his family as well, and I think Paul's daughter as well. But Paul stay home and play music, right? Anytime you go Paul's house, you're going to hear him playing Delphonics.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Back in
Paul love a Delphonics.
He did. From way back then.
Yeah.
Because he and I used to talk music and musicians. Music was like number one for me. When we started our disco, Streetwalkers, because we used to walk all the time, everywhere. We were walking. So we called the disco Streetwalker.
I didn't know that you guys had a disco. I remember
we had a disco.
Yeah.
We used to have 6A versus 6B in playing music, right? So we would play one and then you know the regular class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was great fun, and Steve Thompson and was in that, and some other.
Yeah,
it's amazing though that
yeah.
I don't know if it continues in other generations, but I know that what you talk about there, like having a desire to start a disco, that seems to be almost every kid's ambition in our time.
Yes,
it was.
Yeah.
And
we all did. I mean, so many of us from Meadowbrook.
The Monroe
had our own sets,
and everybody was aspiring.
And born, yeah.
Yes.
But
And
also, the Satious brothers. The Satious brothers. I have a pair of speakers in my house where I am right now, right there in the living room. Satious audio. They're well over 30 years old. That were built by Wayne
I
when
remember,
he was doing this. Yeah. And Wayne and Alan also had a Discord. It was called
Infinity Sounds.
Infernity Sound. And we played against them once at the Del Valley House. You remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
They annihilated us. We didn't have that power.
Or they're genius. Because Wayne is a genius, you know. Wayne is a certified genius.
Yeah.
And Alan,
they designed our
speaker.
double 15 speaker enclosures, and we were supposed to take it back to them to fine tune it, and we never did. We were so satisfied with the sound that these double 15s could sound like double 18s. Out of a small amp, we had a 170 watt per channel Sansui that could make these things sound so big. There were all these guys with the BA 5000s. We could compete with them, all because of Wayne Satious.
And
Wayne's genius, man.
And forgive me, gentlemen, we're not talking about double 15 and double 18. Some people might listen and say, what am I talking about? We're talking about speakers. Those are the things when, if you have a double 18 and you got a session or a fit, if you look and see the size speaker. Alan and I was the same class together. Alan and I were the same class together. So I know Satious good too. Yeah. We started first
good
one.
Boy, man. He and Ghana. Alan and God actually had a business together.
That's God, baby?
No.
My
brother God.
Your brother God. Okay, yeah. I didn't know that, yeah.
Yeah, they had a business together in Florida.
In South Florida,
for years, where they did it was marine aquariums.
But I didn't know that at all. So where did the Satious live at the time in Jamaica?
At first they lived in Havendale.
Yes.
And then they moved come up to Red Hills. They were living in Belvedere.
Okay, yeah.
Was it called Circle Valley?
Yeah. Circle Valley. A big ranch style house in Circle Valley.
Okay, yeah. So you, Mark, what are some of the teachers you remember when you just started in Meadowbrook?
Just starting at Mrs. Millwood, Mrs. Johnson. Those are the ones that were prominent for me. I do remember Mrs. Cave.
Our teacher.
Mrs. Jenkins. Mrs. Jenkins taught us science. Mrs. Cave was the art teacher. Mrs. Millwood taught us math. And like Stephen, Mrs. Millwood opened up my horizons with math. Math became my best subject through high school as a result of what I got from Mrs. Millwood.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't. Mr. Gooden came on, I think, in second or third form and started teaching us. You feel like you're advanced now when you reach to Mr. Gooden, and he's going to teach you maths after you got to start with Mrs. Millwood. Now comes the big boy stuff. And you go on to Mr. Gooden, math and physics. And like Stephen, I remember good things about this man. But if you talk to any of the girls, it's like, no, he was the worst.
No, he had a reputation of just not talking to the females.
No, he had no place in his business for the girls. It was all the boys.
Yeah, man. He was from the old school. That's put it that way. Yeah. I just don't want to talk bad about him at all because we have good memories of him. But yeah, the girls them do have good memories of him at all because I was like, look at them and say they didn't belong in a school. I when I say girls don't learn maths.
Math wasn't for girls.
Yes, and we would probably tell them that too.
They should do art.
Yeah.
you all remember Marlon Gooden?
Yeah.
Mr. Gooden was his uncle, you know.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Gooden was Marlon's uncle.
I didn't know that at all.
Marlon had a sister. Marlon had a sister. I forget her name. I saw her the other day.
Went to Andrews.
It's Andrew Shittigo.
I
But
think
when Mr. Gooden's brother died, I went to the funeral because
It was his twin brother, to Steve.
the twin brother died first while we were in school. I remember that very clearly. I heard you talking about it the other night. But he eventually passed maybe the year before the pandemic or something like that. And I went to that funeral. He actually his nephews, Neil and Chris and well, I don't see Marlon much. I saw Marlon at Marlon's father's funeral, but I see Marlon's brothers, Neil and Chris and so on, quite often.
a very interesting family.
Yeah, I didn't know Mr. Gooden was a monk at all. I know Marlon good. But Marlon never stayed at Meadowbrook long. He left and went to George's, I think.
Well, George's is where because it's a very serious Roman Catholic family, you know.
Okay.
Yes.
Where like Chris went to George's, Mark, and
Yes.
I think Neil went to George's. But they're a very serious Roman Catholic family. As a matter of fact, Chris is actually a deacon in the church.
Yeah, and I think Neil came to Meadowbrook in a fifth form or repeat fifth form one at a time, if I remember saying right.
Could have.
Yeah, I remember after when I leave, Neil and I were the same age. Yes, he came to Meadowbrook. I repeat fifth form.
Right.
I remember that.
Neil was in the disco with us.
Yes.
Yeah.
He had his own, and it came a time when we just joined forces and became one.
Yeah. By the way, I want to mention a couple of teachers, you know. I don't know if Garth and Steve are aware of this. My sister went to Meadowbrook and she used to talk to me about Mrs. Leo Riney, Mrs. Cave. She used the word, these are my words. So Mrs. Cave was eccentric. But none of them mentioned Mrs.
Yes.
None of them mentioned Mrs. Fidget.
Fidget.
Faust. She tried to teach us Faust. But we actually got a dog. From Miss Chitina. Mrs. Fidget had this. I heard you talking about it the other night. She was building this thing, the Little Grindborn Theatre up in
Mavis Bank.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's where she was living, and she was building this big theater there to do opera. And you remember, Mark, we went up there, and that's where we got Soot.
Yeah. We got a puppy.
Yeah, that's where we got the dog.
We got a puppy from her.
Labrador Retriever.
Yeah.
Called Soot.
Yeah, because he was black as night.
So black.
Yeah. No, Mrs. Fidget taught speech and taught music. I remember that so well today. Was she English or Jamaican?
Her name was Roma Doyen Fidget. The Doyens are Jamaican because we knew the Doyens. We knew like Cornell Doyen
and
what's his sister name?
Jeez, getting old.
Yola.
Yeah, we have her on Facebook and haven't seen her in long.
Yeah,
but
and Cornell raced cars, and of course
our passion.
we were interested. So, and they lived on the hill. So, I know I used to go over there quite often. But I think she was Jamaican.
Yeah, she taught me to. I just don't remember if she was. She did sound like Jamaican, but just so long ago, Steve.
She spent a lot of time away, but I think she was. The surname, her maiden name is Doyen.
Jamaican name. Okay, I got you.
The Doyens are Jamaican.
Yeah. So Steve, in the bio sent me, you talk about, and I have to talk about this first, because I think this is an honorable mention. I have to mention this. You guys rode from Kingston, from Meadowbrook to Port Antonio. Was that ever done before? Has it been done since?
Yes. No, I don't know about by the school, but
Yeah, that's what I
some,
mean. By anybody from
yeah,
Meadowbrook decides it because it's when you write it, that's right. At the time in Meadowbrook had a writing posse there where it's like everybody from the salesman
the
brothers to you. It's like as you mentioned,
salesman.
I remember.
I saw them. I saw the two. I saw the both Gary and I saw the two salesmen on bicycles Saturday before last.
Mm-hmm.
We had a big ride down to Port Royal
So
to
them,
honor somebody who had died,
wow.
and salesman them was there.
So talk about
But
that
yeah,
ride.
to tell you about that ride. I don't actually remember whose idea it was, but Mr. Chin had recently moved to Titchfield,
Mm-hmm.
so whoever came up with the idea said let's go to Titchfield and visit Mr. Chin. And call him and tell him we're coming, and we arranged with our parents. And I remember Christopher Smelly spent the night up at my house in Red Hill. And in the morning we get on the bicycle and we leave out at the which crack of dawn? Dark night. And come down the hill, meet up with Robert Chung. He was the third one. And the other fellow who came with us was Christopher Smelly's neighbor, guy named Vendries, Mark
Oh,
Vendries.
Mark Vendries.
Yeah, yeah, but he never came to Meadowbrook. And the four of us head off, right, go up Stony Hill. We've never done this before, you know, right, go down into another bay, right, go across, and they were building the main road that runs between runs to Buff Bay.
Mm-hmm.
They were still building it, and so it was marred. And this is Portland, so the marred road was wet, and we are going down this thing and sliding all over the place. I don't know how much time we dropped because there's no grip in this wet marred road, and we made our way all the way to Port Antonio, overnighted with Mr. Chin, and feed us and look after us. Got to sleep up and rest up, and next morning get up, jump on the bicycle, and we ride come back now. The south through leave Port Antonio and go go east and come back through St. Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Came all the way back to Meadowbrook. When we got back to school, it was in the night. And there was some function that was taking place. I forget. It was a prize giving out. Some function was taking place. So all the school had been gathered and Mr. Thorpe was there. And so when we get back, we report to Mr. Thorpe and say, we're back and we bring greetings from Mr. Chin. And he was so proud and astonished. He brought us on stage and introduced us. But we were just doing it for a lark. And we had a whale of a time. I remember distinctly on a section of the St. Thomas Road. Because the sun had beat now, you know, with dead tires now, you know. And we still have many, many more miles to go. And we're riding on this road, and there's some high tension wires running beside the road, and you can hear the buzzing in the wires. And the thing, it just drove me crazy because we're pedaling, and it's like the road can't done, and the wires just going. But it was an adventure, and I've done it a couple of times since then as an adult cyclist. And do it in one day instead of two. But that was a hell of an experience.
Mm-hmm. How long did that ride take, Steve? For go?
As I said, we started in the morning. We reach Mr. Chin in the afternoon, and we left in the day. The next day, I forget what time. and we got back to Meadowbrook maybe 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. You know.
So they never have no mechanical trouble on the way at all, like bicycle punch
Of course. Of course. Stop on your patch.
You move on.
But yeah, you keep going, you persevere.
No, trust me. You need to get an award. You smell it. You need to get an award for them.
But it was an adventure. It was an adventure.
Yeah. No. When I saw that, I said, I can't even imagine I take on that task at all. But as I say, it showed the resilience, as I say.
When I look at the preparation we make nowadays, so all right, there is an annual ride we have, which is from Kingston to Negril.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at all the preparation we go through to do that, and we all the four of us did was pack 2 little pieces of lunch. I don't even know if we had money in our pocket. We just on our bicycles and ride to Portland and ride, come back.
Yeah. And nobody ever thinks it can't be done at
Well,
all.
I don't remember that ever being an issue with anything that we did when we were young. That it can't be done.
Yeah,
no, that don't cross your mind. We just say, let's go do this, and we do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And being the youngest of 3, you just go along. Because you got your 2 older brothers with you, and sometimes you would have some friends, you have your protection, you have whatever,
Mm-hmm.
You just do we used to do all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, that was...
Growing up, we used to have tropical fish. We used to go up Guava Gap.
Yeah.
That's Guava Gap is there, up in...
You walk
Poppy
up Manning's Hill.
No.
You go up Manning's Hill.
Manning's Hill.
All the way up Manning's Hill till Manning's Hill Road done.
Okay.
That's where Guava Gap is.
And somehow there was a stream up there that had tropical fish, swordtail fish, green and red swordtail fish. And we used to go up there and catch them and carry them back and breed them. We had 2 fish tanks that we had made. We found 2 old car windshields and we brought them to somebody and had them build around that concrete. So it was concrete sides, bottom and back, and the front was the car windshield.
I still have it.
You still have it?
Yeah.
We bred fish in that and tropical fish, swordtails, mollies, live-bearing fish. That's what we used to deal with. And
again, that was the influence of Garth.
Garth went on and made that a business for himself up here.
It was right. It was Garth who had the interest in fish, and anything Garth did, we just followed along. And Andre also had those interests as well. And there were 2 seriously influential people in our lives. Garth was one, and Andre was the other.
That's Andre Smith.
Andre Smith.
That's Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He just said influences. He didn't say whether they were good or bad. But they were influences.
Well, as Mark mentioned about the bad, I listened to Vivian Thomas last, and your chat with him, and he spoke about that ill-fated trip to
Waterways,
where Baron Clark, because those boys had an older brother, and I don't know if Gerald remember him. Baron Clark.
Yes.
Yes, the twins were his younger brothers. But you were talking about that trip, and I distinctly remember it. Crooks Crooks remember the day as I did when the 3-7 clash. But that reminded me of another trip to Puerto Rico. It was my class, and I was we went there in the bus, and we go inside the sea, and we are there doing what just having fun at the beach. And somebody come to me and say, Stephen, your brother is here. I say, I mean your brother is here. Which one? Garth. So I say, what you mean he's here? We never come on the bus. I'm saying, oh dear, no, I'm calling for you. What you want? You go find out. Then I go there, Garth is there. He want money from me. Why? Because he has to buy gas. What do you need with gas? Got no license. Right? So what do you mean you need gas? Yeah. Me and Andre come to Orchard. Come to Discovery Bay in mommy's car.
Without your mother's permission, of course.
Oh, let me tell you my side of that story.
Hold on now, wait, man. But it's not them alone. Because Michael Scott and Garth Dash are there in the Buick. None of the four of them.
Nobody had a license. Yeah, well.
No, nobody had license.
So,
what I remember of that whole situation was my parents were leaving for my stepfather had a conference something in Miami, and he made a trip of it, a whole weekend thing of it, and they left.
It was a week.
It was a whole week. They left it was a whole week. They left like the Friday night or the Friday in the day. Yeah, Friday in the day, because I'm still in school. I'm going home. My parents are probably at the airport. Don't board the plane yet. And I'm at the foot of Red Hills. We used to sit down there, wait for a ride to go up the hill. And here comes the Fiat coming down the hill. Garth at the wheel. Andre beside him. Flying coming down the hill. Stop and say, come on, come, we're going. Go here. Where? What? And them take off. And by the time we're done, his auto race were gone.
So Mark, you're a part of the plan. Mark,
I was not a part of the plan. I'm the youngest one. I get carried into these things. That's why when you talk about the influencing, you can't say good or bad. You just have to say influenced.
But Andre is going to kill us.
You put him on blast.
The only way that we can now speak about this is because my mother has passed on. And Stephen won't get married here.
Don't feel too bad. Don't feel too bad, Mark. We've all done some similar things,
Listen,
but
that is only
that
one.
weekend we were going to parties all over the place. We went to a party up in Meadowbrook area, and Garth is parking the car. Oh no, Garth was going over to pick up Andre to go to this party. He turns into Andre's driveway, and he has a slight little accident and breaks the indicator lens on the Fiat. And we are like, what are we going to do? Because this is now death. When my mother comes back and sees this, we die at her hands. Yeah. So we have to figure out a way. We have to fix this. Friday night, nothing open on Saturday. We have no money. We can't buy another lens. So what are we going to do? So we went to this party, of course. Still go to the party. We're not going to let this stop us. We go to the party. And lo and behold, there is an identical Fiat 125 parked at the party.
Well, before you proceed,
We have screwdrivers.
Is good for that story. It should be, but make sure.
It ended up with us getting out of there.
We had a replacement indicator lens put on back before my mother came home. So and obviously we are still alive, so everything went well.
He never.
No, those stories, as I say, when we used to go, like, go New Kingston, we don't have the money for buy gas, I go up on the road. But guess what you always have? You always have your hose and your buckle. And I don't have to say no much more. You know what I'm talking about.
We all know what gas tastes like. So we all taste it.
Mr. Gooden taught us in physics the principle of the siphon, right? And we put it to practical use.
Of course. Which is a life lesson, actually.
Yes.
How science works in real life.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go. It's a good.
No, man. We have your parents' car drive up on at night time at the club, them our party. You know, the money for buying no gas. And as cheap as gas was, I said, no. You walk with your hose, I have a container, and I say, okay. And you push down the hose and say, okay, man, enough gas in this car. So it's all right. We can move on.
We never leave anybody dry. We always leave
anybody come in, yeah.
But all of that came to an end. All of that came to an end. But before it came to an end, God smashed up the engine one day. I don't know what he did to mash up the engine. But the car started sounded like do. I got the car, parked it in the driveway. I'm on the morning come out to go to work. Start the car. The engine mashed up. And up to this day, she went to her grave and she never noticed God mashed up.
Well,
but that
well, say mother not here anymore, so the statute of limitation run out, so we can't talk about it. Yes.
We can talk about it.
You can.
All of that came to an end one night. 'Cause I got my license and they would lend me the car, and I was responsible, I think. And
the responsible was in quotations. You notice that?
Yeah.
And one night on Nightscale Drive when I was going down there, right in front of Audrey Smith's house, and a cow stepped out into the road, and that was the end of the cow and the end of the Fiat.
Mm-hmm.
Thereafter, we had to walk foot. No more car lending.
Yeah.
Was that what ended the Fiat, or was it the light post? By Merle Grove.
Oh, the light post with
Milton Wills.
Yeah, that ended the Fiat. Patrice Dean's sister was getting married, and we were invited to the reception. So I pick up Will, and I am heading up. Me and Will heading up to the house, and just approaching Merle Grove there, a Volvo sideswiped me, licked me in the front, came across hard and hit me in the front, and sent the car into a slide, and it ended up in there's a metal post, light post, right there by the bus stop, and the car ended up in there. The post came in right behind my seat, and them days cars never have seat belts and all them things.
Right.
So I was fine, but Wheels was unconscious, and Mark was out with Janice Beach at the night with Benny.
First opportunity I got to go out with Janice Beach. Christine was going out. It was like a double date. Christine and her boyfriend, and me and Janice. And we drive past, and Benny was Christine's boyfriend. He said,
Yeah, Benny.
you know, Stephen that over there? And I said, yeah, it's a Fiat. And I look back and say, but there's nothing over there. What will Stephen be parked over there? I said, Benny, turn back. Let's go look at this. I turn back and I go look. And I see the Fiat wrap up around the light.
Wrap up right around the light.
And my only thought was, him dead now. Him couldn't survive this. That was the end of my date that night. I don't even know where they went, but I went looking for Stephen. He must be dead.
Yeah, the amount of people who find me on the road, you see, but it's alright. Still alive.
Yeah. You have 9 lives. The amount of time you sound like you wrap up things, Steve.
He had one incident where he was in the back of a truck, a pickup. They were taking him to the morgue. And the nurse leaving the hospital. Hear him saying, I have a little baby boy.
That's 2 dead people. Because the guy who hit me, he died.
Wow, you're serious.
They carried two bodies to the they carried 2 accident victims to the hospital. And the people look at it and say, no man, there's 2 dead people there. And there's a nurse going home at the end of her shift, look at one and say, no, this one don't dead. And it was the day Alexander was exactly 6 months old. And I remember that I do have the fleeting memory of telling this nurse that I have a little 6-month-old baby at home.
Mm-hmm.
And then run me back into the hospital and save my life. They were contemplating whether they had to amputate my arm, but they managed to save it and stitch it up back, and it still work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Mark, let me ask you a question. When you said in your bio, you said you were 100-meter champion in the first farm.
Mark could run, man. Mark could run.
Well, what became of that skill? Or you just decided that other things were more important than the running?
Girls.
That's what I figured to say. Make him answer. Let him answer.
I came second in second farm. What was his name?
Raymond.
No. He became a good track star too. I can't remember his name. He came in. He was in first farm.
It's not Stally talk. You're not Stally talking.
No, not Stally.
Stally was mine.
A sprinter.
Okay.
He beat me in second farm. And in third farm, I came third. And, it was getting progressively worse. So.
But Gerald was suggesting a name.
Mark Scully was a sprinter. I don't know if that's the same person.
No. Mark was older. Mark Scully was older.
Stally was older, but this guy was younger than us. He came in the year after me.
It's Jeffrey Walters you're talking.
Jeffrey Walters. He was the one that beat me.
He was a big runner. A big time runner.
Yeah,
he was fast.
He's the first man to win gold medal for Meadowbrook, man. I contacted him later than him confirmed. 1977, class 2, 400 meter.
He was the first our Vivian brother.
No, Vivian thought it was his brother, but I want there for correct that. I contacted Jeffrey what? Yeah, right. Jeffrey was 77.
Yeah.
I think Howard was 70. Yes, it was Jeffrey. It is Jeffrey.
Jeff is significantly older than Howard.
Yeah, man, it's Jeffrey, man. Jeffrey left Meadowbrook in 77, the year he won. The first time champs at class.
I knew Jeffrey Walters, but I never knew Howard.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, Jeffrey. It's Jeffrey.
Jeffrey Walters was a guy. He beat me in because I was the champion and he come along and he was fast. He was fast.
He was no mean runner, man. He never take no prison at all. He grew up we grew up almost on the same road at Pembroke. Like him live about a couple houses from me on a different road. And Patos,
I used to run barefoot then back in them days on the dirt down in bottom field there. But he come along with spikes and everything and just run rings around me.
Yeah, man, no, man, he was a very, very good all-round athlete. He could run the 100, the 200, and the 400 meters. And
Yeah.
he was in Sanders swatting. He was in Sanders swatting, Mark. So, yeah.
Miss McLennan, Spanner, arranged a lot of that. She recruited people and they came into Saunders. We had an unbeatable team.
Talk about that. Can you not mention her at all when you teach them? Talk about your first time with Miss McLennan. Yeah.
Miss McLennan does not reside in places of high honor in the Delapenha home.
So hold on, let me find out. Alan was not in Saunders then? That's what you're saying?
Yes, we were in Saunders.
Yes, we were. Yeah.
Mark, you remember the incident?
Yes.
All right. I will tell it.
Yeah, you tell it.
There was a prize giving, and Miss McLennan was never accepting of the leniency of Mr. Thorpe with respect to Mark and Garth here.
Ah.
Right? And it was a fifth form prize giving or something like that, where they give you the school even certificate.
Yeah.
And Miss McLennan is calling the names, and Mrs. Leorini is
handing out,
picking up the certificates and giving it to the person of high standing who is handing them out. And when it came down to D, and she called Garth Delapenha, she was supposed to call Garth Delapenha. She skipped his name, but Mrs. Leorini have Garth Delapenha's paper right there in front of her. So Mrs. Leorini looks up at Miss McLennan, and she says to her, Garth Delapenha. And we could see her
mouth it out.
She could see her mouth, and she said it to her. And Miss McLennan stiffened her back and straightened her face and looked forward and moved to the next person, to the next person, to the next person, to the next person, and never called Garth Delapenha's name. Garth Delapenha did not receive his school leaving certificate on the stage that day because Miss McLennan was not she don't speak ill of it, but she
resented the beard.
She resented the fact that Garth and Mark had beard.
I'm so top had left already.
Yeah. Had he left, Mark? I don't quite remember.
Don't remember.
What year this was? If you remember the year, I will tell you if she had left or not.
Garth
would have been 76.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe about.
Yeah.
So we don't have fond memories of Miss McLennan, and I will not take away the fond memories of other people who want to have fond memories of her, but we don't.
Yeah, man, that's fair enough, Steve, because a lot of people. I mean, John Muir came on and spoke about his challenge with Miss McLennan. So it's not like say, and this program is about memories, not about one person memory, but everybody memory.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I understand. This is not about whitewash anything. It's just you come talk your memory in a respectful way. Right.
That's what we're going to say.
Right. No.
I must tell you, I never got to the point where I went up to Mr. Thorpe's office. I never got a key.
Neither did I. Garth did. Garth did, but I didn't, and you didn't.
Mm-hmm. And both of you were deputy head
Others
boy.
did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Both of you were deputy head boy. Was God deputy head boy too?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, all right, yeah.
I don't think I think he only did one year of sixth form. He didn't do two.
Oh, that's never okay. Him leave
I don't think he completed the year.
No, because he went on to cast
cast.
a year
Yeah.
of architectural technology, and I followed him doing that.
Yeah.
And then he went to work for NBC. What is name? NCB.
Oh, the bank.
Yeah,
The bank.
University branch.
NCB branch, yes. Yeah. That branch apart that campus at that time. Yeah.
And he went. And while I was at cast, he was over there working, and he had the Yamaha 500. When I finished my school, I'd go on the Yamaha, ride it home, and when he finished work, ride back for him, and he would ride home.
Together.
That was a nice bike.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so you're saying it's Jeffrey Walters make you retire from track and field and not the interest in the opposite sex. That's what you're saying. You're going to stick to that story.
Yes, I'm sticking to that story. The fact that I wasn't training as much as I should have nothing to do with it.
I hear you, Mark. And some of these stories, as I always say, of keep behind the paid walls. That's what. Yeah. So Steve, what the most embarrassing moment you remember? You can look back on at Meadowbrook. You can look back on with a smile.
We used to ride our bicycles come to school, right? And I remember one day a ride coming to the school gate. Now you weren't allowed to ride the school compound, but you could ride coming to the school gate.
Mm-hmm.
And I ride coming to the school gate and stop the bicycle, and my foot stuck into the toe clip. Couldn't get my foot out of the pedal. Poof! Fall down right there, and the whole school is right there now. The whole school is gathered right there. And they had a bit of a laugh. But there was another incident. Well, this is not an embarrassing incident, but another incident with the bicycle. When you pass common entrance and you go to high school, your parents used to buy a bicycle. So I got one and Dad got one, and we used to ride bicycle come to school, and we used to park them around that space between the bio lab and the chem lab.
Yeah.
Bicycles used to park there. And Gary Lewis also used to ride his bicycle come down there. And I remember one evening, my bicycle was 24 days old or something like that. This is first fall. And we whole group of us were going up to the Scott's house. So only me and Gary had our bicycles. The rest of the boys were walking. So we were pushing our bicycles up there. And when we reached nearby Morningside Drive, by the Scott's house, two thieving boys come up, juke knife in my side and juke knife in Gary's side, and take with the bicycle. I wouldn't let go the bicycle, so the boy take the ratchet and cut my hand and take away the bicycle. And the two of them ride gone up the road, and I'm running after them. And the boys went into the house and called Mr. Scott, because Mr. Scott was home at the time. And he and his friend come out. See the boys gone up the road with the bicycle. So they jump into Mr. Scott's friend was driving an Alfa Romeo. Jump into his Alfa Romeo. And the two of them chased them, picked me up on the road and chased them. And cornered them at a gas station at the top of Florida Avenue. Mr. Perrott gas station.
Oh no, Manning Road.
One of them jumped. Manning Road and Florida Avenue.
Yeah.
One of them jumped the zinc fence and gone over the little settlement there. The other one ran into the office of the
gas station.
Gas station, and Mr. Scott cornered him there and shoot him. Didn't kill him, but enough to subdue him. And then they call the police, and the police come scrape him up and carry him up at the police station. I had to go to court and give evidence as to how this man come thief a bicycle and stick knife in his side. That was one traumatic experience that I remember. We were 10 years old.
And you were in,
What's that?
You were in first farm at the time, Steve.
Huh?
You were in first farm.
Yeah, we were in first form.
Yeah.
We were in first form.
Yeah.
Me, my bicycle and gear.
Stephen, did you get back the bicycle? Did you get the bicycle back?
11 months later. 11 months later.
After laying
And
as evidence.
Strip off of it. So they had to keep it as evidence. And them scrap the bicycle, man. Scrap the bicycle.
Boy.
I remember, Prince, I think you posted a yearbook the other day, and I was looking through it, and there was, we used to sell ads for it. There was one from that gas station, because it was owned by Mr. Perrott.
Yeah, Judy Perrott's father.
Yes, Judy and Nicky Perrott. There was an ad in one of them for it. And there was a Mayfair ad in one of them.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah. I remember the ad. I remember the ad you're talking about, Mark. Yeah. So, Mark, what the most embarrassing moment you remember? You can look upon. You can remember with a smile at Meadowbrook.
Back in first farm, I had won the 100 meters, but the 4x1 we had come in second. It was me. It was Carlton Christian, and I don't remember who the other two guys were. And in the prize giving, we're supposed to get the medal for second. And I hear it call out, and I get up and start walk up to the stage, and Carlton follow me, and some of them say, no, it's not you, and I reach up on the stage. But I heard it wrong. I don't remember who it was that came in, that they were calling for the medal, but it was us. And I get up first, and all of them follow me, and we're all up there, and it's not us. We have to back up.
And this was like on sports day.
Yeah, this is in Assembly Hall.
Oh,
after sports day, when they're giving out the second prize. And, you get the gold medal, and first you get that on the spot. But the second prizes and the other little bronze prizes. This was a prize giving or something.
Yeah.
Jerry, in each podcast, you often, but in the introduction, you speak about the years Meadowbrook came to prominence in sports and so on, because we used to really flatter around at the bottom for a long time.
Yeah.
And you speak about people's sporting participation, and I suppose it was because I was relegated to glasses by the time I was 11. I didn't take part in much of the football and so on, because you can't play it with your glasses. And when you take off your glasses, you can't see the damn ball. Mm-hmm. But I do remember, I did participate a bit in little athletics and so on. And I remember one time, they were looking at a team to make up numbers to go to champs. And Christopher Smelly come to me, and him said, I'm looking at team of champs, because then they need to do a relay of champs, and they need numbers. They don't have enough numbers. And they're giving free lunch.
That would drive any schoolboy. Free food.
What?
Yes.
So I say, yeah, man, that. So me and Christopher Smelly, I don't remember who the other two were. Me and Christopher decided, say, yes, we're going to get kit and make up champs team. So we got there today, and Christopher is a little quicker than I am in terms of thinking out these things. I'm a little naive. I just follow along. So Christopher said, all right, Steve, you run the first leg. Right? And then I will run. Not recognizing that this is a medley relay. So the first leg is the 400 meters. I don't think I ever run 400 meters in my entire life. I could have got gold. You must ask Andre Smith to tell you how this one looked. He was up in the stands. He was watching it. And when the gun went, Delapenha shot off like a bullet. For the first 2 minutes, he's wet. Button change, and I still running.
Why you didn't finish, Steve? You didn't finish the race?
Not the finishing one, but I finished it like tomorrow.
Wow.
I'm finished and I'm still running.
That was it of mine. But I can say I represented Meadowbrook at champs.
Yeah. But let me ask you one or something, though. And you take a question first, Mark. When you guys heard that Meadowbrook, were you aware that Meadowbrook started winning in the 1980s? This was about 5-6 years after I leave school.
Yeah.
And how did that make you feel? In terms of when Meadowbrook became prominent, no longer a Cinderella school, they started winning.
Yeah.
Especially
in the cricket. Especially with the cricket, sunlight, cricket, and court.
I always knew that we could. So it was a matter of, it's about time. You know, I knew that we had the potential to do it. We just needed the right coaching, the right direction, the right something to guide the raw talent that existed. It was always there. There was always Milton Wills. There was always Patrick Scott. There was always Jeffrey Walters.
Was
and Babai. They were excellent table tennis players.
Yeah, Babai, Christopher Senior, Mr. Senior. Yeah.
The talent was always there. And just like Jamaica was full of talent from way back when. Yeah. But somehow, after high school, it faded out. Mm-hmm. And only the cream of the cream was able to go on further. But no, who can stop us in the world?
In track and field, especially.
Especially,
yeah.
You know? But, it's also what you guys did, Jelly, in those early to mid 1980s was a fitting tribute to people like Warren Thorpe, and let's mention Chip Chung, the Chung brothers' father, who built.
Yes. Richard and Ian's father. Yes. Not a younger brother. Yeah.
Those efforts, because Mr. Thorpe was a Bayesian.
Yeah.
You know, cricket ran in his blood. He used to bowl a ball to the guys when they were practicing from time to time.
Yes, I have memories of that.
Yeah, and I'm sure Gerald would have experienced that as well.
Yes, I used to live across the street from him, as you know.
Yes,
exactly.
And you would have friends by him. So Thorpe was always entertaining, and always. Yeah. There were many dinner parties there, and almost like Mr. Thorpe had a group of them and on weekends they would play cricket, backyard cricket.
Mm.
So Mr. Thorpe was really into that.
What you guys did was a real tribute to the foundation he laid and what he saw as being possible.
Yeah,
it was a fulfillment of what we knew was possible, what we knew we could do.
Yeah.
You guys were able to put it together and get it done.
Yeah. That's why I feel it's not like we in a sense put this a statement say you build we came on this, we stand up on the shoulders of giants because the people who come before who would have played, all of the names them what you call, Stanley, Jeffrey Walters, all of the well-known at least, Gilla, you call Christian, all these people played sports and would have come Meadowbrook. I'd have come Meadowbrook and see them, I say, the man are good. Yeah, exactly. We were in Patrick Scott, as I tell you. He was a good footballer and a good cricketer. You see what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
So I was inspired. Personally, I was inspired to look and say, the man can play. So you're right. We were standing on the shoulder of giants. But you see, at the time, it was like one or two individuals, but they were really good. Milton Wills, the best footballer I've ever seen come on Meadowbrook. Best footballer, bar none, ever come on Meadowbrook. And me can't say that without any apology at all, right? So
between Milton and Keith Williams.
Yeah.
And Lauren Monroe.
And Lawless, yeah. Yeah. So you're right. I mean, so you guys were not surprised then that saw us winning in the 1980s?
No.
It's a kind of a sense of satisfaction when you hear
more it.
And say,
Finally, satisfaction.
Finally.
Not surprise. Yes.
Yeah.
It was expected.
Yeah.
And it was
because you ask a question, as I mentioned earlier, I was listening to Vivian yesterday, and there was a question you asked about somebody. I have never felt embarrassed or ashamed of going to Meadowbrook.
Yeah.
I've always been proud of having gone to Meadowbrook.
Neither did I. Never take off my epaulette either.
No, sir.
Steve, no.
Yeah.
No. So I know what you're talking about. So it was vindication for when we start winning, and I said, we have clout now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a special pleasure in beating up our arch rival down Reddles Road. I won't have to call them name to embarrass them, but yeah. They know. Those two victories, Jerry, were two of the sweetest victories early, and that was winning things. So yeah, we can definitely.
But all of that Reddles Road, let me go further down Reddles Road. Go up onto Dunrobin Avenue. The amount of people who came to Meadowbrook from Dunrobin Prep, from St. Richard, from Meadowbrook Prep. Well, of course, Meadowbrook Prep gonna move up. But those schools, Dunrobin, the Joneses came to
Jerry Celia.
Jerry, it's only Edmund never come to Meadowbrook. Devon Panton, Petal Pennycook.
Melody Delphus, Michael Delphus, late Delphus.
Yeah. So many of them came from Dunrobin. And then, of course, St. Richard's.
The Beaches.
Yeah.
Me and my brother. Derek Ballin, the Scots, Paul and Michael and Patrick.
And Vivian said he went to St. Richard's too, yeah?
Vivian.
Yeah.
And St. Richard's continues to be a very good school.
By the way, Steve, I'm looking at this picture here. You have on your discard thing. I say Afro. You and a girl in an Afro. Which girl is that? Which one are the fourth, if I can remember right? Is the older one?
Peter Gay.
Peter Gay. Okay.
Peter Gay. That's Peter Gay.
Is that Peter Gay fourth?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, right. I remember those two girls are two of the biggest Afro at Meadowbrook at the time. So.
Peter Gay and Judy.
Yeah.
Judith, yes.
Yeah. All right, let me ask you something though. I didn't want to say, one of the people I talk to all the while, an old student in a younger days, and him said to me, Jelly, I want to ask people this question, I'm going to start with you first, Steve. What do you think can be done to inspire Meadowbrook past students to want to give back to the school?
Well, I think what you are doing is a very good place to start, and spreading this program. Maybe one of the things you could do is do some editing and and cut it up into
Smaller
bites.
Smaller clips, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Easier to consume, and spread it around. But what you are doing, I think, is of enormous value, and will help to at least engender back in people a sense of Meadowbrook. And I don't know, you know, there are people like Gus Swaby and Andrew Hall who call me from time to time and say, "Boy, school need this, school need that," and going on. The work of those guys, it's very important. But in terms of building out something, the communication is important. If people know what is happening and things are what's going on and what's needed, you're probably that will probably go a far way and help people.
Yeah.
But
At least
let me sing your praise.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me sing your praises that what you are doing is of enormous value, and I think it can help with this.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. Thank you. And that the conversation has started then, and it can go all over the place, and that everything begins there. So, everything begins there. So, and Mark, any ideas you think what we can do for inspire Meadowbrook past students for want to contribute back to Meadowbrook?
As you were asking the question, what came to my mind is exactly what Stephen said. Something like this is what will help tremendously. And people hear from past students like ourselves, and you mentioned quite a few. There's one that we call a relative, Cavill Cratney, a rose scholar.
Cavill is our cousin.
I mentioned under the introduction. Yes.
You know, people like that who came from Meadowbrook in the early days.
Cavill went to Meadowbrook Prep.
And yes, she went to Meadowbrook Prep, but she lived up the road.
Cool Shade Drive, I think.
Cool Shade, yes.
Yeah.
No, it's Flemington Drive.
Flemington, yes.
Okay,
and her she live across from Gearsted, man. And her aunt, who practically raised her, Ruth, taught at Meadowbrook Prep for many years.
Yes. You keep finding those people and speaking to those people and let them hear the quality of people that came out of Meadowbrook from those early days. When they hear about them and their achievements, you know, that will inspire things and that will help bring us back together. And I love to see those old yearbooks.
A magazine, them, yeah.
Yes, Gary Stedman had some, and it brings back so many memories, you know.
Yeah,
we were there. Those books are reminders of before Meadowbrook got its prominence, and we know the potential that existed there. We knew that it would happen, and you bring back those people who were there from the beginning. We had some excellent teachers who came out of Meadowbrook itself.
Like Gerald Belnavis.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. And the conversation tonight.
Very brief stint of teaching, but it was rewarding. I don't know if I put myself.
Did Gerald teach you, Mark?
No, that when I was teaching, there were some very, very fine teachers there. I think that even when we were going to school, we had excellent teachers. There were some. Joe Pereira taught me Spanish in first form. Joe Pereira went on to be a university professor at the University of the West Indies. He taught, and so many else later on. I mean, Mr. Tharp himself was an excellent physics teacher and mathematics.
Yeah.
So we had quality people, Mr. Chin, we had, and then we never realized how good these people were, but they were world class.
I just going to say that. Looking back now, gentlemen, and you take this one at first, Mark. Were you surprised at the quality of teachers that were at Meadowbrook at the time? I mean, we took it for granted, you know.
Took it for granted. I didn't know this is what we had, but
and the thing is, the teachers were on the same plane with our parents.
yes,
You know, you had your parents, you held your parents in very high esteem because they rule the world. But the teachers were people who many of them looked up to and or at least you didn't have you saw these people and you could only have respect for them because your parents had respect for them and they behaved in a way which demanded respect from you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
when I see children talk about and talk to their teachers in this generation here now, what I see going on, and I think back to when I was their age and in high school, in prep school, I had so much respect for teachers. They were the leaders of communities, and like Stephen said, I had them on the same level as parents.
Oh, yes.
Well, parents were the people you respected at home, and when you went to school, there were the teachers. That kind of respect, I don't see that anymore. It's missing here in the United States. It's missing.
I know exactly what you're talking about, Mark. I went to Pembroke Hall Primary, and I remember, you're talking about, I remember I had a principal named Miss Campbell. And she was even speaking to me today, you know. She was speaking to another child across. And when she spoke, I felt a chill run up my spine. It's like you're not talking. I feel the chill come up my spine.
You can feel it.
Yes.
You know?
They left that respect.
After all these decades, we still can feel it.
Yes. She was the principal and I had a teacher who taught me, Miss Scott, who taught me when I did command entrance. The same thing. The commanded the respect is like, you don't see that anymore for true. You do not see that at all. So.
Yes. At St. Richard's, the same thing. I mean, we had Sister Cabrini. I mean, don't nuns are supposed to be nice, quiet.
No.
She was a force, right?
Never heard any child who went to any Catholic school with nuns speak about a nun in a friendly way.
Right. They are like the story.
A lot of discipline.
It was a double barrel problem, you know, because having been punished by the teacher, certainly in my case, and if that is known to my parents, second punishment.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. You hope that the teacher don't tell the parents at all, Jerry.
Exactly. You don't want that to go home.
So what is going to happen when you get home?
Yes.
I've got Auntie, you get another piece of meat like when you get on top of the teacher. Yes. Yeah. All right. Let me ask you something, because you mentioned say when was in the music business. Mark, you first. Which song you remember the most when you was at Meadowbrook? Which song stand out for you? A couple of songs you remember. You think back when you think about Meadowbrook.
Thinking about Meadowbrook, way back in first form, innocence was prevalent there. And Christmas time, walking home, I could hear Stylistics playing. And when I hear those songs now, and that's all I listen to now anyway, there was Betty by Golly Wow, you know, you just feel the innocence of the time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
The greatness of it. And I only recently found this out. He just recently passed away. I didn't know that he had been Jamaican born.
Come on, Mark.
Who brought us.
No, Mark, you knew that, man. No, you knew that.
I knew that before he passed, but it was
Don Topping. Don Topping at RJR Radio. You knew that, man. You knew that. Don
I don't know
Topping
if
from
it's old age or what, but in the last few years is when I remember finding out. But
No, you knew. It was Don Topping from RJR Radio who told us many, many years ago.
Told us
when
what?
Don
Told us what,
still
Steve?
on radio. That Tom Bell was a Jamaican. You know who Tom Bell
the
is?
man behind all that music that we grew up on.
That's a Philadelphia man.
The Philadelphia man.
Yeah. Philadelphia.
He partnered with a lady named Linda Creed who wrote all of those songs.
Delphonics,
the Delphonics,
Spinners,
New York City. All of that.
Come, Gerald. Come. You know this.
He was brilliant.
That man was Jamaican. And when I found that out, I was like, no wonder the music has a place in Jamaica that it did.
I know, for some reason.
Because it was coming from one of us.
Yeah, those songs were very, very popular growing up. Going to parties and so on. All the Delphonics, the Shy Lights, the Stylistics. Those were the groups that we would dance to at parties.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know the beautiful thing about Jamaican parties back then was that we would have the different genres going. You would have our music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You have some reggae, and then you play some funk dance, and then you hopefully you hold on to the young lady and the soul sex.
R&B, yeah, sure.
That's the plan. That was the master plan.
We didn't know it as R&B at the time. It was soul music.
It was soul music. Yeah, that's true, Steve. It wasn't R&B. R&B is our American thing. We just know that soul music in Jamaica.
Soul music.
That's true.
We didn't even know disco. We know funk and dance music. But one of the things I will take credit for is calypso and soca.
Yes. I knew that's where you were
With
going.
Streetwalker, I had that in my repertoire. I would play that.
Right.
And all I had to do was make sure that Andre Smith, known as Smuck, was there to be on the dance floor, and the party would be on. I just played the soca music, and Andre Smith would be out there, and that's the party.
Yep. And the floor would ram.
Yeah, I think our appreciation of music was probably greater than the kids now, because they tend to focus on maybe one thing, and I didn't know the variety of music that they're exposed to. Not by any means putting it down, but our case, like Mark just said, soca is Trinidad music, R&B, soul, reggae, and funk, which is a good diet, a good variety.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Remember,
No, I used to have to go to have it break down my playing between those things, and I had my calypso time, I had my funk time, I had my dance time, I had my slow music time.
Yeah, man.
And
the reggae time.
Yeah.
Most kids going to parties would know the different artists in the different genres, who is the slow music, you bring in the Delphonics and the Stylists, Shy Lights, and a few others.
And when the music come on and a certain music play and you can't find a girl for dance, you have to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Time to go.
That's what the wall was for.
But who had another set that was quite big? It's Sugar, Peter Bowles, and ours
disco.
Big set.
I know that.
Yeah, I remember them playing at Southdale Plaza.
Oh yeah, big set.
I didn't know.
And,
I didn't know Tom Bell had Jamaican heritage though, or Jamaica.
No, he was born in Jamaica. Grew up over there in Philadelphia, but he was born in Jamaica.
I didn't know that at all. That is something I didn't know at all.
I mean, now that you know that, and you realize that all that music that he wrote and produced and made it was so much a part of Jamaica.
Yeah,
Now you kind of understand how it come together.
You know, one that had such an influence on Jamaican people. Jamaican people love soul music, as you say. Yeah.
And that's why.
Yeah.
It just made sense when I found that out.
Yeah. I didn't know that at all, Mark. I see. I did not know at all. All right, look, I'll move on to a couple more questions because Sim doesn't take it where they talk for 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I think I one question I asked, I just asked you for the truth, Meadowbrook, and we just talk. So I don't know. So, Steve, set this one first. What the best learning experience you got from Meadowbrook?
The best learning experience?
Yeah.
It was the exposure to Mr. Gooden from math and physics. I didn't have to study physics. I just had to do it with Mr. Gooden, and it stuck. And the thing with math as well is I learned to enjoy doing math with Mr. Gooden, and so I think the best learning experience between that and my exposure to Elsa Leorini, those were the two most fundamental learning experiences.
Yeah.
And I tell you, Mr. Thorpe also, because Mr. Thorpe, he taught me math and physics in sixth form. But he didn't teach me before that. But you had exposure to him during that time. And I remember when we were doing the school magazine, and Constance White was editor. And there was an article which had been put forward about the attributes of Herb. I think, Gerald might know this. I think it was written by Alan Clark.
Yes.
And Mr. Thorpe, when we submitted it, the mock of the magazine, Mr. Thorpe said, no, this article is not going in there. And we were insistent, Constance was insistent, and Mr. Thorpe says, before that article goes in there, which he preferred to not have a magazine for the year, he would shut it down. And we were staring disaster in the face because we had these two intransigent, Constance, very strong-headed, leader-type person, and Mr. Thorpe, we know who he is. And so I took it upon myself to try and figure out a way around it. And I think it must have been me and Minerva who had approached Mr. Thorpe and said, if we can find a counterpoint to that article, would you be prepared to concede and let us print? And to his credit, and you spoke with Vivian about this quality of Mr. Thorpe. Jelly.
Yeah.
To his credit, he said, if you give me that, I will allow.
No.
So I sat down and I wrote a counterpoint article, and I didn't put my name to it. I think it was me and Minerva wrote it. We didn't put our name to it, but it was a counterpoint to what Alan had written. And if you look at that magazine today, the two articles are there. So that also is a learning experience. It taught me the power of mediation, stepping in the middle, and finding a common ground between two opposing parties, and it taught me the character, the importance of character from somebody like Mr. Thorpe. So to have the character to say, yes, I will do this if these conditions are met.
And to me, more important to see, right? And it's until I spoke to Vivian, I realized that when we went to Meadowbrook was a special place. Because that was allowed, those dialogue was allowed to flourish. You go out of school, you can't go to the principal negotiate. You have to take it or leave it. It's when Vivian pointed out that to me, I said, we went to school. We were lucky to be at school at that time.
So people, special.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we were very lucky. And before you answer that, Mark, before you come and tell me, sorry, was the best learning experience. But Steve, you talk about the 35mm film that it took for 3 or 4 years. By any chance?
8mm.
8mm, sorry.
Yeah.
What the difference? Don't forgive me ignorance. What the difference?
It's a much smaller camera, and it's a very narrow film surface area.
Okay, and it's what
amateurs would use.
Yeah, okay.
And the photo club had bought an 8mm camera and an 8mm projector and all the rest of that. And over a number of years, I think it started when John Richards was president of the photo club. Started to take pictures of sports day, little film clips of sports day, of beach trips, of various things. And so over a period of like 3 years, a number of these were accumulated. And we had also bought editing equipment, like a splice on the tape and so on. So I remember carrying it home and spent the whole night cut and paste and edit. And, things drop on the editing floor because I can't make the cut. And went through a whole process until I was able to get it into 1 or 2 reels, big reel, so you could show it continuously.
Yeah.
And we had a viewing in the auditorium, and of course, it was a thrill for people because they were seeing themselves and their friends
for the first time on video, on
screen, and projected on the screen. So, I a few years ago, I did find it. A number of years ago, I did find it. So it is here somewhere at home. I must make an effort.
No, you should. I know you put it out publicly. I want somebody contact you, or you contact somebody. Put it in a digital format if it's possible.
Exactly. That's my thought. You need to be digitized.
And put it in a format where we can share it. And put it almost like in a library at Meadowbrook High School.
I will make the effort and try and find it.
Yeah, man. No, it's all about it publicly. Once it's come out, once this conversation come out, we will. Yeah, man. Try find it, dust it off, and get in touch with somebody in a Meadowbrook field where do them thing here and digitize it and make it available for all. That people.
I'll make the effort.
Yeah, man. Definitely. When you saw that, I say, I wonder if you still have it. That would be great. That would be great.
It should get some.
Yeah.
That would be memories.
Yeah, man. That would be Meadowbrook memories. Exactly.
There are so many things that just reside in people's memories because even we mentioned it earlier in this conversation, the third form concert. Just think about it for a moment. The third form concert. That means the people who are organizing this thing are around 13 years old, 14 years old. Right? It was led by Constance White, Diane Spence, Diane Easton. I think those were the 3 main ones. Those girls, of course, they touch base with Pablo first, right? Because we have direct access to Pablo.
Right? Through God. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So that and through him, he put them in touch with all sorts of other people. And those girls,
and
by
hold on,
themselves,
Steve. But you have to mention this and make people understand. At that time, Augustus Pablo was one of the biggest musicians in Jamaica at the time. Would have contacts with all of the big musicians them.
Yeah.
Right. You have to mention that. A lot of people probably don't know that unless it's old. Right.
He is an actual legend. I mean, Gerald is here who not only lived the experience, but is closely connected to the music world. So Gerald can confirm the man is an actual legend.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Probably a great man.
man. He put them in touch with all these various people. So they went. Those three girls, jump on bus or take taxi or whatever it is, and find themselves down Orange Street, Just them, and negotiate with Dennis Brown, with
Big Youth, you call it
Big Youth, and a number of others. I don't remember all of them now, but if you ever speak to any of those, they'll tell you. It was a big concert. Gerald should remember it.
Yes.
What's that thing?
You know which band played at that concert?
I'm trying to remember.
Dunbar on drums, Lloyd Parks on bass, Rancho McLean on guitar. It was a hell of a top.
That's a hell of a lineup
of Jamaican at that show.
And that was held in the hall, the Assembly Hall of Meadowbrook.
Assembly Hall. No, first of all, Mr. Thorpe allowed it.
Yeah, that's what was asked, right?
Point one, right? Point two, it was organized by 13-year-old children, right? Led by Constance White.
It went well. There were no incidents of any problem.
It went off well. Yes.
Yeah.
The only problem is Dennis was late. Dennis did not perform. He did come, but he came very late, and he missed his performance. I don't know if it was ever, but and the other thing is that I don't think we made any money because it's the third form. It's the third form concert. It's the third formers.
Yeah.
So people at the door were people like me.
Yeah.
Right. 13.
There's no accountability. I don't like that at all. No.
But it's not a question of accountability. It's when I should not call any names because I don't know who may have done this or not. But when a big boy come to you, all right, let's say Richie Ralph,
Right.
come to you, come to the door, and say, "Him a come in," right?
Yeah,
Who will
What
stop
are
him?
you going to
You
say?
can't stop
How
him. No,
you stop him?
Where's a lot of customers didn't pay the day then, Steve.
Yes.
Yeah. Security was not priority, and obviously.
We were 13 years
Young
old.
kids.
What have we
All right.
we didn't make the money.
Let me ask a question, Steve.
But it was legendary. Yeah.
You don't have to answer it because it might be a behind the paywall question, but was the aroma in the assembly hall changed because of the concert?
There what? But there what?
Did the aroma change in Ratney Hall, in the assembly hall? Was it?
Of course it did. Of course it did.
Look, Big Youth was there.
Of course it did.
Where is the smoke? It was a smoke-filled room.
Yes, it was. And it wasn't me.
Well, Jelly, you try to define a rhetorical question, are you? You just did.
Yeah. Aye. No, that was good history. That's good history, Steve. Yeah, about that concert. I heard about that concert, Not when I was at school, I heard about it since I started doing conversation. Yeah, somebody say, yeah, a big concert to keep on Meadowbrook at the time. I wasn't right when I was at school at all, no.
And it's the third formers organizing.
Yeah.
Third form. 13 years old and 14 years old.
Yeah. So, Mark,
What we call pick,
you didn't go to that concert, Mark. Mark, you were too young for that
led-
concert.
I probably was too young. I don't think my mother would have let me. Even though Stephen was there.
Your beard wouldn't give you a pass to that concert at all.
No. Talking about that, you remember the bus pass?
I have to say this. Hold on, Mark. I have to say this again. Just as we're putting a full stop to the concert. It was led by Constance White, Diane Spence, Diane Easton. If I am leaving out anybody that is blame me.
Yeah, they will eventually come correct. Hopefully we get all of these people on and them can come correct and tell us more about the concert. The negotiations and all that sort of things, Steve. So yeah.
If it's ever possible, you should get Constance White.
I think Patrice Deans was involved as well. Patrice
Quite
Deans.
possibly, yes.
Yeah, Mark, I hear you. Hopefully Constance we'll find her way. Because Keith has given me her number, so hopefully I can get her to come join the conversation. That would be good. Yeah. That would be good.
Prevail honor.
But you were saying something, Mark, before you answer the question, because we didn't retreat your best learning experience.
You're telling me what the beer, the passes it would give me, but I was saying, you remember we had a bus pass that we used to take the bus to the GOS and show your bus pass and you pay a reduced fare?
Yeah.
I am going on the bus with the rest of my classmates. We're all going home. I have on a khaki uniform with my helmet, epaulet them. I have on my bag, the duffel bag with school book and stuff, and then walk up there behind everybody. And when the doctor see me come on and him stop me, and I show him my bus pass, him look at me and say, "Where you going with that? Who you think it is? Man, just come off of my bus."
So they were like,
for food. They would not accept the fact that I have a bus pass signed by Mr. Thorpe, issued by the government, saying that I'm a student and I need to pay the student fare. No, they tell me I was lying and kick me off of the bus.
The corollary of that, Mark, is that if you go down to Jennifer Thames' house now and put her into a Meadowbrook uniform and she go up on the bus, then we take the fear from her.
I agree with Steve. Exactly right. She have not lost that little girl look at all. No,
not a thing.
No, nothing.
But at the same time, while in high school, I'm going to school in the morning. I go to the pharmacy and work after that. And then I went to a club to spin and was drinking rum and stuff. Jesus. I was, 15? Nobody questioned me.
Nobody asked no question at all. No, I didn't necessarily. Yeah.
We used to play at this club named Dumfries. We used to play at this club named Dumfries Club across from Tropic. The nice Bobby Christian wasn't playing, we would play for Bobby. And we got there one night, and these people, all them more here is Bob Marley the whole night. And they would play Bob Marley the whole night. But the people them won't pay the bill. And them keep ordering more drinks and they keep eating up more food. And they are going on, and it's midnight gone, morning coming down. And you see when them finally pay the bill, me and Mark pack up the set into Bobby's little
Triumph.
Right?
Oh,
no,
yes.
the Triumph we're driving.
Triumph.
Go up to Leeds flat, drop off the set and go home. Right? Jump into the bed. I was working at the pharmacy, but Mark have school.
I had to wake up on the school.
About 5 o'clock. Mark have to go to school the next day. At least when I got to the pharmacy, I would go into the storeroom and I take down a box of toilet paper, because they used to come into these huge boxes, put 2 of the boxes together and boom. And I go on for the whole
I had to be in school.
Yeah. Aye. So Mark, what the best learning experience you get from Meadowbrook?
That wasn't one.
No, not you, Steve. Mark.
Yes, I'm saying that was not.
I did have a biology teacher, Miss Riley. She had a sister.
Heard about.
She was excellent for me. She she got me interested in the subject, and I remember she gave me a test to do that had to do like an experiment, and I did the whole thing. Was very proud of it, and at the end of it, she said it was good, but pointed out a mistake I had made. I should have put a control in, and I mean that was what, third form. Like I was 13, and I'm now 62, and I can still remember it. That's the kind of influence our teachers had on us from back then. That we remember those little things. She grabbed my attention. She got me interested in the subject, and made me want to learn.
You talk about Miss Riley. She taught me as well to Mark, and she had a sister in sixth form.
Yes.
When I was, but you talk
Faith,
about
I think her name was
Faith. I think Faith.
Faith Riley.
Yeah. But talking about lessons we learned from the teachers, them. I remember this biology. I never forget it. Miss Riley teaching us biology, and Miss Riley teaching us about sexual reproduction. And Mrs. Riley explained a woman's cycle. In a sense, Miss Riley was teaching us about the rhythm method.
those the boundary envelope that people like Elsa Leoran used to press to push as well.
Yeah. It's not as I don't want to say it's not as the word that I use as tenacious as Miss Barber's experiment where Miss Barber went down to Slipe Road, got condoms, got one of the woodwork teachers to make a explicit to show how sexually transmitted diseases can be and how you prevent it by putting a condom on a wooden. So no.
Very graphic.
Yes. Yeah, no. So Miss Riley taught me, and I just like I say, Mark, I never forget that lesson at all. In terms of say, this is now you understand how the cycle of a woman work. In terms of say, and like a woman going to get pregnant at a certain time, a month, and all that sort of thing. And I never forgot that. I never forgot that at all. In terms of say, and that was like, I was in first or second form at the time. So yeah, I know
the way they taught us. It stuck with us, and it got us interested in the schoolwork.
Yeah.
We had excellent teachers at Meadowbrook.
First class, and next thing again, I talk about the teacher. One thing, and it's after I listened to Vivian, I realized that most of the teachers were very young. These were like old teachers, you know. These were teachers close to our age, you know, in their 20s, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing.
Like some of the Michael Scott still in high school was dating one of them.
Michael Scott was dangerous.
I'm not surprised if you mentioned Scott and something like that at all.
It's impossible to mention the Scott brothers without mentioning Christopher Gaynor, Christopher White, and Garth Deitch. Some people actually thought that Garth Deitch went to Meadowbrook.
Mm-hmm.
Some people still think so. But Garth actually
guys, Mrs. Williams.
But he was up at Miss Jennifer Williams was
Jennifer Williams.
That's Mikey Deitch's older brother.
Yes.
Mikey Deitch's older brother.
Yeah, I don't know him at all, but I know Mikey well. I know you're talking. He went to KC.
Yeah. All of the Deitches went to KC.
Mm-hmm.
All of them
All of the boys.
Yeah. They lived on Madison Drive. They lived on Madison Drive,
but him could have easily passed for going to the Meadowbrook.
Well, but apparently they were ordained to go to KC. All of them KC. I think there was one term where Garth actually came to classes with Michael for a whole term at Meadowbrook.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, that
I can remember seeing him at school.
He was there all the time.
That is possible. That is more than possible. Colin Chan has come on and tell us that he came to Meadowbrook twice. In a second farm, when he gets suspended again for about 2-3 weeks, and nobody found out about him at all. And so that's it. There's something about the school environment at the time. Like somebody let us come in the classroom and nobody asked a question at all. Nobody. It was It was amazing.
I remember there was a set of twins, two girls. They were ahead of me. I think they were with Andre. And for the life of me, I did not know there were two of them. I thought it was one girl because I never saw them together until one went to sixth form and one stayed back in fifth form. So the sixth form one was wearing the skirt and the other one was wearing the two. So that's how I figured out, oh, there's two of them?
The banks you say talking about. Yes. Banks, yeah.
And one of the Deitch brothers married one of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I think
Peter,
the youngest one, who play music with God.
Yeah.
With God, and Peter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that at all.
Peter got married to one of the Banks girls.
Yeah.
It's funny. Some families go to, the whole family go to one school. I mean, I know the KC thing was strong, like the Hunts and so on who I knew on a different level were KC people.
It's only Cheryl come to Meadowbrook.
Only Cheryl.
Yeah,
And only because she's a girl.
Yeah, exactly.
She was because Mr. Hunt went to KC too. So it coming from that.
Of course.
Yeah.
But when you talk about the Swabies, Pablo went to KC too. Pablo never went to Meadowbrook. The only boy Swaby that didn't go to Meadowbrook.
Yeah.
He went to KC.
And the Swabies them living in Avondale at the time. Jerry.
They did.
Morning side drive. Okay. Yeah.
Well, he went to KC. Everybody else went to
God.
There was another brother who died, Douglas, who died. He was in.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Douglas crashed on a motorcycle and died.
Motorcycle, yes.
There's another brother. I don't know. I didn't know him at all. But there's another brother who died.
Yes. Also, right. Mm-hmm.
Early.
And Douglas went to Meadowbrook too.
Yeah.
Swaby. Okay. Oh, yeah. I think
What's your G?
There was the Hunt boys went to KC. The Winter boys they went to Calabar.
Went to Calabar. Yeah. Jennifer Winter was in my year.
Jennifer Winter's brothers. They went to Calabar. They were track stars at Calabar.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to ask you the last couple of questions because simply I don't take it now. I brush up to almost 45 minutes. And the conversation easy.
Mark, I forgot to work. don't do that to Mark again. Don't leave Mark at 5 o'clock.
All right. You tell us first, Steve, what message did I give to existing student or staff member of Meadowbrook? We're going to hear this conversation maybe tomorrow, next year, 10 years' time. What message did I want to pass on to current Meadowbrook students who are going to hear this conversation, current or future?
What I would say to them is make sure you know your history, know the history of the school. You see that thing I sent to you?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to try. Yes.
If they should share that with. I saw a little girl in the pharmacy at Mayfair on Friday in her tunic, and I called her over and I opened it up and I showed it to her and I showed her the pictures of the people and I showed her Mrs. Smith, and Miss Gardshaw and all the various people.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked for the section that described the name of the tartan. It's called the Black Watch tartan that they wear and where it came from and why it came about and so on. And she was extremely interested in what I was telling her. And as I said, when you go back to school, you can tell them that what you are wearing is called the Black Watch tartan and why it is and so on. So I in order for the culture of Meadowbrook to be sustained, I'd say to them, learn the history of your school. And I think we have a responsibility to help them to learn that and understand.
I said just like you're talking there, Steve, you know what ran to my mind? It's like And we have to do it, you know. Our generation have to take the responsibility. We have to create a Meadowbrook museum. I have to create you say, like your 35 or 8mm film, I forget which one.
I'm going to try and find it.
No, I'm saying that and those things where you get the PDF where you sent me with the early days with Mrs. Smith and the picture from 1958. You want it in a one place, either online or at the school, that every new Meadowbrook student come and look on and them can touch it. You want it at the school certain way. See, I'm saying I can touch it and physically look on it and say, this was Meadowbrook. And as they said, these conversations, they say, we'll cut them up in a small clips and make it more palatable than the length and time. And if they want, this is the longer version that is there. So it's almost like go and create a Meadowbrook museum. It just come to me just I think about it and I say, we need to create that environment where the student, them know where to go find information. And not only where to go, it's accessible to them. Them can see it. It don't take a stretch to somebody.
That was for us in a way that it wasn't for us.
Yeah, we have but we have to do that though. We have to find a way to put that in place. We
were fortunate that some of the history we actually lived it. I mean, Vivian was telling you about a Reverend Ward. I can remember Mr. Cuthbert. You remember Mr. Cuthbert G? Gerald?
It looked like
yes, I remember him. And I remember Mr. Ward would come to Meadowbrook, you know, when he was like maybe like
the rest of the day off.
And speak. I don't know if you guys saw it. Maybe it was during my time, but Mr. Ward, I
we came during my time.
Yeah, my time.
Both Reverend Ward and Mr. Cuthbert would come during my time.
Right.
I remember when Mr. Cuthbert died, the whole of us had to go to the funeral. There was a cemetery on Shortwood Road there, right by the Liquor Ed.
Yeah,
where he was buried.
I remember Mr. Ward coming, Reverend Ward. Let me give me the right and proper name.
Reverend Ward would come and speak to the school periodically.
Yeah, we have to create back a sense of history and we have to put it in place. Because I just say, because we live it, Steve, we take it for granted, you know.
Yeah.
But the students them who come after us, it's like them need to see it, them need to know about it. We have to write it. And this was the purpose of me start having this conversation, you know.
Yes.
And I had no idea.
This is part of that.
Man. I had no idea. It was going to expand out for the even not talk to you, both of you. I just think somebody going to talk to some cricket and some football, and that is it. That was no, I say because
Meadowbrook was more than that. That's why.
No, right, no, but you understand. My motivation was that our history, what we do at the time, in the 80s, was going in a black hole, and nobody remember it. I'm saying no. Let me start talking about it. If I'm just a 50 or 60 cricketer or footballer, and then when I have it as a memory, that was my motivation to start, man. And other people interested, just like I say, it's more. It's more than just cricket. It's more than cricket. That turned out to be. I'm glad. And I'm happy that people like you come on and share your story and memories. And we don't talk about one cricket or football match. And when they talk for almost 3 hours. So yeah.
The other day I had the opportunity to go to Philadelphia. Well, I was just passing through Philadelphia. And the airport, I'm walking through the airport and they have a section dedicated to Philadelphia International Records. Mm-hmm. And on both sides of the hall is just picture and album and everything talking about those artists, Teddy Pendergrass and Hal Melvin and the Blue Notes and all of that.
Yeah.
All of those Philadelphia people. So as you walk, I had to stop and take pictures and read. Sorry, I had to.
Yeah, man.
And this now comes to mind because we need that hall.
Yes, that's what
like we talk about the museum, just a hall like that of the history. And as you walk along the hall and you see the beginning of Meadowbrook and how it progressed all the way through.
I'm at the wall digital now. It can have a whole heap of information.
It can have a digital wall.
Yes.
But all those, as the students who are coming in there now and the ones who are there now, and make them walk through this area at school somewhere where they can see the history, and this is where this institution that you have now become a part of, where it's coming from.
Yeah, man.
And whose shoulders you will be standing on.
Yeah, definitely, Mark, definitely. So what message did I give to existing students, Mark? our future students who are hear this conversation? What message you have for them?
Remember these years that you're about to spend here. They will stick with you for the rest of your life. They will become part of you, and they could be some of your best memories of your life.
Definitely.
That's what I would tell them.
Definitely. Well, I only have a couple of questions, Lee, because I don't want Mark go work or sleep tomorrow.
They changed my schedule. Somebody needed an adjustment, so I'm now going to be going at 10. I can sleep late tomorrow.
Okay, all right. Anyway, I'm going close. I have work tomorrow anyway, so I do have work. I have to get up by 6 o'clock, but it's not a big thing. Question I'm going to ask.
Accustomed to this from disco.
Come again?
Mark is accustomed to this from disco days.
Yeah. The late sleep and everything, yeah. So you take
I'm
this
not
one.
a teenager anymore, though.
No, that's true. We are what I call senior citizens now. All of us have the conversation over 60, so yeah. Just imagine.
I ask for my discount and I get it, all right?
You could ask your discount from me I go to school, no worry. You could...
Okay, now it is great.
All right, so for you say this one first, Steve. How it make you feel bringing up back all these Meadowbrook memories after all these years? How does this make you feel?
I've seen your various podcasts of various people, and I've listened to a number of them. Some of them in little snippets, and the Vivian Thomas one almost in its entirety. And I wondered, how the hell are we gonna talk to this man for 3 hours? Clearly, bringing back these memories has been an effortless and enjoyable adventure, and I've enjoyed doing this. And I think the only thing I have to worry about is Andre coming to kill me.
Well, put it this way, Steve. Let him know him about open invitation for him. And by the way, just anytime I want to come on with him sister and him brother, them can come on. Any open invitation. And by the way,
that would be. And don't forget, your mother is still very much.
I was just going to ask you that. If the mother is still alive, and if she could have
they literally live up the road from me, walking distance.
And let me ask this question, I'm going to ask it publicly. If it's possible, if you could arrange for the mother have a conversation, it won't be 3 hours.
No.
It won't be 3 hours. But if we could get on a conversation, Steve, that's a bit.
Yeah, I can ask her.
Yeah, you'd have to set up the technology for her.
I can ask.
You could have sit with her, and you and Steve could have sit with her. I'll go over.
Derek lives there with her, so.
Okay, right. Right.
Let's make it be a family reunion. Everybody go up to the house.
Exactly. That's the whole idea. If you talk to him, let me hear this conversation now, Steve. You can't say, okay, you know what, you have to kill me.
Your turn.
Jelly say you can come on and tell your side of the stories. Because I'm certain you have some secrets for you we can't talk about it, so yeah.
Oh, yes. He can sink me.
Yeah, man.
So can sink me.
Follow up on that, Steve. I say, if we can have that, because that would be great to get her perspective from an administrative side and from somebody who has been.
And she was there from the start.
Right, I just went to that. From the beginning, right, exactly. From the beginning, from the phone line school, she was there. I saw the picture and I said, wow, Mrs. Smith looks so young in there. So just look like a teenager in that picture. So young in that picture.
Then you have to, because there's not too many of them left from then.
No, I'd love to get her perspective and a conversation from her.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can arrange up that would be great, trust me. And if all of the Smith family want to come on, that would be good. That would be great, Steve.
I'll work on it.
Yeah, man. So Mark, how would it make you feel I bring back all these Meadowbrook memories?
I was like, Steve, man, like, what are we going to talk about even for just an hour? I mean, didn't think I would have that much to contribute, but it has brought back so many fond memories. And, you know, you can see where your life came from. And it's like I walk down memory lane and it's, oh, now I know what I'm standing on, where I'm coming from. It's a reminder. So, yeah, it was excellent. I have enjoyed it.
Yeah, man. And you two gentlemen are not the first one who, Mr. Dean, before him come on the conversation, he said to me, say, boy, Jelly, it kind of too long, you know. And when him come on, he apologize to me then and say, boy.
Sorry if it takes so long.
Right. So everybody have the same concern. I said, what am I going to be talking about? But once you start talking, the memories start come flooding back. Trust me. You're frightened to know where the 2 or the 3 hours go, Mark and Steve. Mm-hmm. Trust me on that.
We haven't even mentioned the fact. That your sister-in-law, Alice, and her siblings, were practically part of our family from we were children. I know them. I know Saffron from before Saffron born. Put it that way.
I didn't know that. Yeah. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Their father is my godfather.
It's Mark's godfather.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
At all.
We were practically family.
Okay, that is that is news. I was just going to ask, you know, that's the next question I asked before the last question. If there's anything I wanted to bring up that I didn't bring up. But you bring up one day I didn't know at all. I did not know that at all. That is news to me. I didn't know that at all, Steve. That's interesting for you and know. Yeah. So the second to last question, more to it now. Is there anything that you think, any question you think I could have asked that I didn't ask, or anything you want to bring up that I didn't bring up at all? And you go first, Mark.
Oh, we have covered quite a bit. My life now, I've got 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. The girl is in the middle. She gave me a grandson. My oldest is a chef, and he lives with me, and I eat well. My daughter is a nurse, and my youngest is my son. He lives in Jamaica. He came up here, but he didn't like it up here. He went back to Jamaica, and he's thriving down here. He's a music producer, and he buys and restores and sells motorcycles. And he was with Garth the day Garth died. He was helping Garth restore a BMW. So he was learning that from Garth, that detail of restoring something like that, and he's now turned it into a passion for motorcycles. He always loved motorcycles. It was in our blood, so he had to, and he does that in Jamaica.
That's look like a Delapenha tradition, right?
It is,
right? True Delapenha tradition.
And I'm really counting on him to continue my name, because none of my sons have had children yet, only my daughter, and the name Delapenha needs to go on. I don't know what's wrong with them.
Steve, is there anything I think I could have bring up that I didn't bring up at all?
Not that I can think of, but if I follow Mark's lead, I've been married to the same woman for a very long time. 1984 till now is a very long time. I don't even remember the math.
That's close to 40 years. Next year, 40 years.
Exactly, 39 years. And we have 2 children. Alex is 37 and Zoe is 23. I have no grandchildren. And cycling is my passion. We've had a big ride today. Went up to Fatespen and came back, climbed Mount Russell, come back, and So I go to work and I come home and I ride my bicycle, and life is very like it like that.
Simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, gentlemen. So the last question, I ask anybody who come on these conversations, and you take this first, Steve. What made Meadowbrook magical?
I think what made Meadowbrook magical was the combination of the people, starting with Mr. Thorpe, because I think his influence um, was very, very, very strong in as to what happened in the school and the culture of the school. And I think it was the people who were there at the time, the staff, the smallness of the school, because at the time there were two streams when I went, A stream and B stream, and so it was less than 400 people when I started. I know it expanded a great deal by the time you guys came in, but the smallness of the school gave it an intimacy, so that the people in first form knew the people in sixth form, but which is not strange, but the people in sixth form tended to know the people in first form as well.
Yeah.
Because it was such a small school. I think that intimacy made it magical, and Mr. Thorpe's.
Yeah, the smallest of the school make it feel like it was a family environment, and it was.
Yes.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, because it's situated in the middle of a residential area.
Yeah. So
Right?
That's a big plus, man. It was like it's like in a home.
Right.
It make like a home.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Right. And you'd walk from school to people's homes.
Yeah.
At the parties at Dinsdale Gammon's house, or at the Miller, Donna Miller and her sisters.
Andrew Miller.
And,
Carol.
Andrea and Carol Miller. It was all very intimate, and people knew you. You knew people. People knew you. Their parents knew you, because Mr. and Mrs. Scott knew us. Mr. and Mrs. Lewis knew us. Mr. and Mrs. Boat knew us, and we knew them.
Del Valleys.
Yeah.
Oh God, the Del Valley household, and it's only the Leighton one came to Meadowbrook. The two girls went to Queens, but because lived at the Del Valley house, because when we go out late at night and can't reach home up Red Hills, everybody would crash at the Del Valley house, and Mrs. Del Valley would get up in the morning and count bodies as to how many people to make breakfast for.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a common thing. We have a house to sleep. You know you'll get breakfast. Yes. Yeah.
But that intimacy and that sense of community and people knowing people and so on made it magical.
And you, Mark, what made Meadowbrook magical?
As Stephen said, the first thing came to my mind was Mr. Thorpe as the headmaster. How we all looked up to him, and how he led that school, and it was magic coming from him, and the staff, the teachers, we haven't mentioned them much, but we had some excellent expatriate teachers from England, from Pakistan. I remember some physics teachers and chemistry teachers from Pakistan, and English language, Mr. Lawton, Mr. Sherrington, all those people.
Sure.
We had this mixture of cultures and people that taught us, that made us grow. We came in as kids and left as young adults, and our lives were formed right there. And as Stephen was saying, it was a small school when we were there. The intimacy that we knew everybody, and everybody knew everybody.
Yeah, man. I said that in my conversation. It's like you don't walk around Meadowbrook and don't know somebody who related to somebody else.
Yeah. And so many families have been formed from there. We mentioned the Del Valleys. Leighton married Pia Bacchusment and had children with her that have continued his legacy. He was married before that to Andrew McGeish's sister, with two boys from that. There's so many marriages that came out of Meadowbrook, and the children from those marriages are the ones that continue on the Meadowbrook name, because they are living from the experiences of their parents who went to Meadowbrook.
Yeah, that tradition in my family too. My sister married somebody from Meadowbrook, and as you know,
That's right.
my brother.
Patrick,
yeah, right, exactly. So that's a great
But
tradition.
my own marriage
yes,
of nearly 40 years. When Karen was 13 years old, she came from country because she lived in Mandeville and she went to Hampton. Karen came from country to visit her cousin, Christine Beecher, at Donmere. And she was at Donmere, and I went round by Donmere to visit Christine. And that's when I met Karen, who I married a number of years later when we were both adults. But I met my wife through my Meadowbrook connection.
A Meadowbrook connection again, yeah. Yeah.
There you go. There you have it.
Not to mention that Mark goes with Christine.
Yeah.
No, with Johnny.
Yeah. And he
was
married to a Meadowbrook girl too, right?
Mark married a Meadowbrook girl,
yeah.
Yeah, I married a Meadowbrook girl, yes.
Yeah.
So.
So anyway,
quite a few of those at Meadowbrook.
Yeah, exactly, Jerry. That long line. Keith White, who had been on this program, Marto.
That's right.
Yeah, Keith and Claude.
Right, exactly. No, man,
I know Keith's
Jennifer
brother.
Williams.
Yeah, that's right. I know Keith's brother, Cressmore, right? And I know he's called Bolt. But I didn't know why he was called Bolt until I was listening to the Keith White thing the other day. Not on Bolt.
Keith is the only boy that.
Repeat that, Jerry.
I'm going to listen to that one.
Repeat that, Jerry. What I say about Keith?
Cressmore went. He was the only boy that went to Meadowbrook. I think Cressmore went to Casey and they went to George's.
Yeah. Because Keith and Constance came to Meadowbrook.
And the younger sister came to Meadowbrook too. The younger one, Constance. I forget her name.
Yeah.
Jerry might know her name. What's her name, Jerry?
Allison.
Yeah.
Allison.
Yeah. Right, I remember her.
Oh, yes, I remember Alison White, yes.
Yes. That's how the members work, Mark. That's how I want to start talking. It's like, okay, I remember the person name, I remember a story about them and say, we'll be here for hours if we continue the memories. So, but anyway, before we close out, I always ask this. Any closing remarks? And Jerry, any closing remarks before I close out the program here tonight?
Well, the only thing would be that it was my distinct pleasure to be here and to hear the many interesting experiences of the Delapenha boys. I mean, like, you guys have done some pretty amazing things and survived some.
I still survive to tell the tale, Jerry. Exactly.
but it was, as always, it's been a pleasure for me, and I've learned a few things tonight, and like I said, it's a pity that God is not here, but God made his mark and will continue his mark. And as Mark was saying earlier, that his writings are there for all to see, and I'm sure many people revisit it. But tribute to God, and sad that he's not here, but his memory lives on.
Definitely.
And you guys keep on trucking.
Yeah, man, definitely. Yeah. Mark, any
and Mark, I was one of these days. Mark, I'll book you up again soon.
We will see each other, probably in Publix
right.
or Walmart one of these days.
One of them.
Yeah. And Mark, any closing remark before I close out the program?
I had a good time. Was kind of a little apprehension about it. Didn't know how it was going to be. But the memories that it has brought back are really good ones. And I've enjoyed it. Yeah. And I look forward to some more. You need to dig out some more of these people like us and let us hear more.
Yeah, man, that's the intention. Forget as much as I can. As much memories as I can from all different age groups. Next week, somebody who started in Meadowbrook in 1962. Her memories will be coming out next week, Saturday. So, yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, man. So, you're from different perspective and all that sort of thing. So, yeah. And Stephen, any closing remark before I close out?
I'd just like to say thank you for this opportunity and thank you for doing what you are doing. I think it is a hugely important effort, and I think that it kudos to you for doing it. And all the best to your brother and your sister-in-law and the rest of your family when you do get a chance to talk. Yeah. But thanks for doing it.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. So, gentlemen, Gerald Belnavis,
all right, Jelly,
Stephen Delapenha and Marc Delapenha. And on behalf, I really thank you for coming in and come spend on the time this evening. And God bless all the way. And God bless that great school at 2 Meadowbrook Avenue who ensure that we can have them a conversation 40, 50 years later. And have so much fun with the conversation. Not just the fun for the conversation, the trio will fly off so quickly. I said, where did that go? So
where did it go?
Yeah. So I thank you
because we all enjoyed going to Meadowbrook. I think that's it. That's the thing. That whenever you bring memories up about Meadowbrook, they are predominantly good memories.
Yeah, you don't want to stop talking about them, Jerry. Exactly right. Exactly. You don't talk about them for hours. And the good thing now we have them documented and people can go back and listen to them and say, oh, that did happen. And you can always go back and listen. So, yeah. But thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for coming in. And God bless all of you, all of we. And God bless that great school and Meadowbrook High School where put us together. So, thank you, and have a good night. Have a good evening. God bless you all.
Night, everybody.
Good night to you.
Indeed a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to Meadowbrook Memories. And remember to give us all the support and encouragement you can on whatever social media platform you are listening. And special thanks to my production manager, Kyle Prince, who takes care of everything involving getting the podcast out every week. And without him, this podcast would not be possible. It is his expertise that allows me to do what I love doing every week, having great conversations about Meadowbrook memories, and he's responsible for everything else. So again, thanks to my production manager, Kyle Prince. So remember to like, share, and subscribe these Meadowbrook Memories podcasts so neither you nor your friends will miss another Meadowbrook conversation. Thanks.